morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to round 3 of the men's series of the Zwift Grand Prix. We are 2 rounds down, and this week we have a new format for you. It's a squad skirmish. Now, similar to round 1, the riders will be racing smaller races, but this time around, 5 racers from each team will be spread across 3 race formats. The teams will be placing riders in the formats that are going to be playing to their strengths, where 2 riders might be better in 2 of these races versus 1 rider in 1 of those races. The teams are going to have to make some tough decisions. With a variety of race lengths from 300 meters to 10 kilometers over this format, we are going to once again see the strength of the individuals and hopefully see some new strategies shining in Zwift racing.
Yeah, that's right, Nathan. Each team will need to put 2 riders in 2 races, and then the real crux of the situation is that individual rider that will represent their team by themselves. It's going to be a lot of pressure. You either come back a hero or with 0 points. We're going to be starting with 12 teams here, and then only 5 of those teams will punch their ticket into our final 3 events here, the finals.
Although we know some of you are coming back each and every week, some of you might be dropping in for the first time and wondering, what is the Zwift Grand Prix exactly? Well, this is a new series from Zwift with 6 rounds of regular season racing, and it's going to culminate in a grand final in March of 2023. Each week of racing is featuring a brand new event format never seen before in cycling. It's bringing the excitement of esports to this new cycling discipline.
It's been really cool seeing the collaboration between the teams and the event organizers to get us to this point. You've seen the racing. It's been much more strategic. The gamification has gone to a completely different level. Certainly, at the end of the day, the excitement has been off the charts. We've got 24 of the world's best Zwift teams racing. They're rearing to go. 12 of the men's teams and 12 of the women's teams. They all contributed, though, to help design the format that we're racing with here. It's extremely unique and a lot of fun, and I'm glad you're along for the ride.
Now, each week will feature men's races one week, followed by women's races the next week. With these new formats, you're going to really get to know these teams. Individual riders as well as the head-to-head battles like never before. Every rider is contributing, and they're going to be accumulating points throughout the season. That's going to be whether or not they get into the grand final or not.
So let's go ahead and make sure you get home have a chance to get involved. There's a lot to see at Zwift.com/racing. Everything is on offer there, and we'd love to see you jump into a race if it's your first time. If you've been out racing with us for a while and dropping ride-ons like a boss, keep it up. We love having you as a part of the racing.
Let's get right down to round 3 of the Zwift Grand Prix and check out what we have coming at you today. Squad skirmish, race number 1 in this round 3 of the Zwift Grand Prix. It is only a distance of 0.3 kilometers. Probably a little bit of surprise. Wait, what? A sprint race. Yes, it's right from the Pens over to the Watopia Lap Arch. Raced 4 times. Event 1, 3, 5, and 7. 24 to 12 riders will be in this Pens taking off for the sprint. The finish line is going to be awarded 1st through 6th and 6-1 points in Watopia.
Let's just jump right in and take a look at the second virtual venue of 6 that we'll be racing at today. Events number 2 and 6 will be taking place on Watopia's Tempest Fugit. It's another sprint race in the qualifying round. They'll be going from the Pens to the Rock Arch. We'll be starting with 12 to 24 riders, and there's a lot of points on offer from 12 down to 1. So they stacked them up linearly there. So back to you, Nathan.
Race number 3 of squad skirmish in the Zwift Grand Prix is going to be 1.9 kilometers and 57 meters of climbing. It is the Watopia Forward Hill Climb. Very familiar. Probably one of the most ridden hill climbs in the world of Zwift. It's raced 2 times, event 4 and 8. Again, 24 to 12 riders before we whittle things down. The finish line, though, awarding first through 12. 12 down to 1 point on this hilly Watopia forward.
Well, we've talked about the teams in the battle. They now will have moved into the finals here with 5 squads, as this is the 4th venue, and it's into the finals now. Distance at 9.4 kilometers, but there is a massive amount of elevation gain here. Power-ups are in play here with Arrow, Invisibility, Burrito, and Draft. Points going from 10 down to 1. This is going to be an absolute Donnybrook on the hilly route reverse.
And on to race number 5 in the squad skirmish. It's a 2.7 kilometer race with only 20 meters of elevation. Again, a sprint race with 10 to 5 riders as we've whittled things down. First through 10th will be awarded 10 down to 1 point. We're heading on over to the volcano. It's going to be from the Pens of Watopia over to the volcano circuit finish/lap arch. Invisibility and Burrito are on grabs. Those disruption power-ups, they're going to be making a difference today, Dave.
With 11 different events taking place at 6 different virtual venues, this is where it'll all be done and dusted. Watopia Quatch Quest, it's 5.1 kilometers. Only the strong will survive with 122 meters of climbing. It's a sprint race. 10 to 5 riders will take the start, and we'll be scoring this from 10 down to 1 points. It will all be on the line here as we wrap up round 3 squad skirmish.
Now that we've looked at the courses out here today, let's take a look at the teams that will be taking on those courses. It's Abus Lacole, Arrow coming out of Australia. Coalition Alpha's out there today, followed up by Hexagon, presented by Saris. Callus Esports, presented by Wahoo Burke. Movistar E-Team. It's going to be Next Esports, presented by Insured. Team Caselli, presented by Elite. Team Swedish Zwifters, Toyota Cryo RDT. It's going to be Velocio, and last but not least at all, Wahoo Lacole.
Thanks, Nathan. Certainly not least as we bring up our table here. The Zwift Grand Prix men's standings after 2 of 6 weeks of racing. And Wahoo Lacole has been very, very strong. They are sitting with 40 points on top of the table. It's a new point structure, so remembering that, we're really looking forward to the dynamics at play, because only 3 points back, but really right there is one of the powerhouse squads, Next Esport, presented by Insured. 1 point back, virtually deadlocked there for our 3 virtual podium spots right now is Abus Lacole, and watch out for them to come all guns a-blazing today. The mighty Coalition Alpha team, they're still in this conversation. It's still a long way to go as well, and they're sitting on 25 points in 4th, with the legendary Toyota Cryo RDT team in 5th with 20. We'll then move down to Movistar. They're battling with 16 points in 6th. Castelli 7th, Kalish 8th. Velocio looking to make a big move today, sitting in 9th, as our team of Swedish Swifters sitting in 10th. Hexagon, presented by Saris. They're always going to be a dangerous team. Let's see what they can do today. And we're looking for the Australians to show up and make their mark. That's where things stand in the Zwift Grand Prix after 2 weeks of racing.
Now, the exciting part is who have these teams picked to be racing each of these races? Well, race 1 with that sprint from the Pens, it's going to be for Abus Lacole, Gianni Kuman. Race number 2, Jasper Paradines and Matthias de Roos going to be taking on that Tempest Fugit sprint. Then it's going to be race number 3 with Joe Perrot and Leonard Tugos doing the hilly forward climb. That makes so much sense to me. Dave, let's take a look at the next team.
Yeah, I follow your thinking there. We'll move to Arrow. Let's see what they can do today. There's some talent on this squad that's ready to emerge. Race 1, going to be a very active day for Sam Hill out here. And you can see that race 2 is where we're going to be putting 2 of the Aussies, Mark Bosted and Trent Stevenson. Race 3, that's where Torben Partridge and Ben Hill will be trying to make their mark. That's the Australian squad, Arrow.
And Coalition Alpha will be putting Gel Power into the shortest of the sprint races. Then it's going to be race number 2 with Spencer Sagerbrook and Lionel Viasin lining up out on the Fuego Flats for that 2.2 kilometers. And then Ollie Jones and Michael Kaminsky for race number 3 to take on the Hilly Ford Watopia KOM.
Taking a look at the submitted rosters, this is the mostly French team Hexagon presented by Ceres. Race 1, that's going to fall on Pierre Faulrath. The duties there for race 2 now going to Burke Kayan and Julian Soughton. And race number 3 stepping up will be Jeffrey Milou and Mikel Planteron. That's Hexagon presented by Ceres.
Dallas Esports, presented by Wahoo Burke, are going to be putting Simon Norrell Svensson into race 1 to be sprinting over and over again. Simon Nielsen and Havad Geldins will be taking on race number 2 for that flatter sprint race. Then it's going to be Alexi Kalman and Stian Lersveen for the punchier climb on the Watopia Hilly Forward for race number 3. That's Dallas Esports, presented by Wahoo Burke.
Moving the pieces around on the chessboard, it's Movistar E-Team, and Daniel Gould will take the responsibility of race 1. Race 2, it's Vidal Mel, dangerous duo here with Jonas Bjarent as well. Race number 3, Movistar will be starting Samuel Ramland and Jimmy Kershaw. That's a good look at the Movistar man.
And next esports presented by Insured. They're going to be putting Thomas Thrall on the big sprint today. And then it's going to be Jean Brun and James Barnes in race number 2. Ryan Duffy Jr. and Zach Neer taking on the punchier course for next presented by Insured. We'll see how this all stacks up. Interesting to see the race 1, 2, and 3 for next presented by Insured.
4 different 3-kilometer sprints out there for Ricardo Panizza as he'll take on the responsibility of the solo rider in race 1 for Team Castelli presented by Elite. Race 2 sees the Italian duo of Alessandro Barra and Mattia Gaffuri. Race 3, again, put on the climbing legs, Luca Vergalito and Luca Zanasca. Ciao, Bellows. Good luck to Team Castelli today.
Team Swedish Swifters are going to be lining up for the sprint race. Race number 1, Johan Ridney. Then it's going to be Martin Harburg and Jerry Erickson taking on race number 2 on the Tempest Fugit 2.2 kilometers. And finally, Matthias Svensson and Jacob Jortland are going to be the climbers out there today for race number 3, Team Swedish Swifters.
All right, Toyota Cryo RDT, this legendary squad will be starting Jack Poley as he'll be racing up to the lap arch 4 times. Race 2 then over to the rock arch. It's going to be Anders Bengtsson and Eddie Uhl. Wow. And then we take a look at race 3, and it's one of the most talented Zwifters on the planet today, Joachim Lisan with Martin Mertens. Boy, they're bringing a strong squad, Toyota Cryo RDT.
Strong squad that is. But now look at this. Velocio showing up in the neon. Brad Bickley racing 4 times to that sprint arch. It's going to be Jason Frank in race number 2. And Adrian Vouliar going on to the rock arch on Fuego Flats. And that's Jammers himself, Dan Jim Rosick and Kevin Bouchard Hall for race number 3, taking on Watopia Hilly KOM Forward. That's Velocio today in the Zwift Grand Prix.
Getting a look at the mighty Wahoo LaCour team on top of the table and looking to stay there. It's the Finnish superstar Teppo Lorio who'll be doing a lot of the sprinting out there today for Wahoo LaCour. Race number 2, we see Mark Matting and Tim Rugg taking the start. Race 3, it's Adrian Alvarado and Howell Davies. Let's go, Wahoo LaCour.
Let's go indeed. Let's jump right down into the pens and watch the riders as they set up for this sprint. Dave, we're about to kick off, and it's going to be 200 meters, everything on the line for this first one.
Yeah, you really set the tone, don't you, here? It's going to be absolutely frenetic out here today, so buckle up. You can see the countdown is underway. We're inside of 5 seconds to launch here from Space Station Watopia. Nathan, it's on like Donkey Kong as we send the men out on course. The teams have had a critical selection to make. This is a moment in history, and it looks like Thomas Thrall is going to bring them into the sprint. Nathan, I'll throw it to you. This kick is happening right here, right now.
And right from the get-go, you do see it's going to be Callis taking over from that initial kick. Right, it's 4 riders distance themselves immediately. Fence Nordveld fence, and it looks like that takes it down. Kuman followed up by Lorio, Teppo, Thrall for 4th though. Gold followed up Gel Power, Bickley, Paniza, Polly, Belroth, then Hill. That's going to be your finishing order, it looks like, Dave. Oh, man, it's just a full gas kick to the line. Dave, take it away for the points.
Even BMX racers would say, wow, that was quick. So Simon Nordhaus Svensson makes history and takes the 6 points. That's the maximum allotted there. Newman good for 5, Lorio for 4, Thrall for 3, Gould for 2, Power for 1. And then you can see, unfortunately, getting shut out there will be Bickley, Panizza, Poli, Felrath, and Hill. So that's the theme, Nathan. Fast and furious out here. We've got, so these riders now will take a short break. They'll be back in action in just a few minutes as we'll move to event number 2 here, staying in Watopia, but we'll go back to the pens as the Rock Arch is the next sprint destination. So Nathan, that was the fastest bike race I've ever seen in my life.
What, really? The fast? Well, I think you're right.
I think.
I mean, BMX versus this, I don't know. I mean, that's pretty close. 200 meters right from the get-go, full-on gas sprint. I mean, the camera angles there gave us a good idea, it looked like, for what the riders were doing right from the get-go, but we didn't see necessarily the watts per kilogram. They were orange from 10 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds to go. And the timing there from the pens, it really is kind of like BMX. You sit in, hold that line, and then the gate drops, but all the power is already on the pedals the moment that that gate drops, because the kick is everything from that start line.
Yeah, animal instincts there, as there's really not a lot of tactics. You hit out, as you said, Nathan, you're just putting the accelerator down on the floorboard. Incredible. Now, what's interesting to me, Nathan, I would have designated my top rider, my top sprinter for this event, thinking that there's 24 points that could be picked up out here. And Nordal Svensson now has 3 more cracks at it. That was a dominant opening sprint here. So, again, these riders get to chill out for a moment here. I'd imagine you'd keep the legs turning over there and just get ready to lock horns one more time.
Yeah, I think we're going to take a look at the replay. As far as tactics go, there may be a little bit of something that played out. We saw it real quickly here, but I have a feeling if we take a look, the lead out from Thrall maybe ended up being a little bit of a disadvantage to him, where I'm wondering if Nordahl actually waited a little bit for the full-on kick, or was this everything he got right from the line? I wonder if this was tactical at all, or did Teppo and the rest of them here, as you see Teppo and Wahoo Lakol, you see Nordal just going right from, as soon as they hit this downhill. I thought perhaps maybe on the downhill section here, we could have seen a little bit of a draft that would come through from Kuman, but it looks like Nordal just able to kick right from the get-go with way more power than everybody else. Or was there a draft that maybe allowed him something around that corner and into the downhill? I wonder which one it is there, Dave.
Well, I would have to say that, Nathan, if you look at the course, it's a launching pad as you're going downhill into that sprint. And I have to think that they just go all in. It's a complete effort where you turn your brain off. No brain, no pain for that 10 seconds there. So that's a good look at what it's going to take out here.
Yeah, this is definitely interesting whether or not it's able to be repeated by these athletes over and over again. You know, this is going to be 4 times. So if you put all of your chips in that first go, are you going to be able to repeat this again? Will we see the same thing where just there's a dominating performance from the same rider over and over again? Or are they going to get tired out after these little kicks, well, big kicks, to the line out on Motopia 4 different times here, Dave?
The theory was presented, if you put 2 riders into this event, that's part of what makes the squad skirmish so unique. These formats have been fantastic. This time the directors had a big challenge, because had you put 2 riders into this, you still have to win that first sprint though, but you could rest a rider and alternate out there. That's one of the thoughts that we had heard from pundits talking about how you manage this event. It's a lot of what's fun about this is the unknown, these factors that come into play. One thing I do know, that if Tom Thrall isn't winning these sprints handily, this is going to be interesting. Teppo Lorio was right there. What I would say, Nathan, is don't expect the top 5 riders to change all that much here through the next 3 sprints. I'm not going to say that we see the Norwegian winning 4 times, but I don't think the podium changes all that much. It sounds like they're just about ready to throw things back down to the start pens in Watopia. This time we're racing to the Rock Arch, Nathan. It's a little bit longer, 2.2K this time, so a little bit more of a setup, an appetizer before we dive right into the main course, which will be another sprint finish.
Yeah, we're going to be out on Fuego Flats, 2.2 kilometers. It's going to be full gas. Well, maybe not. A little bit more tactics. Now, I just got told there was no draft in that first race, but this race, there is going to be the ability to draft a lot more tactical. 2 racers from each one of the teams. We do see Wahoo Lacole right from the get-go getting out front, Dave, perhaps in order to allow their other rider to sit in, and there's going to be a chase right from the get. You can't let anything go here, Dave. And it's going to be Timothy Rugg, of course, making the first move.
There's going to be some teams that are going to look to double dip out here, Nathan. I want to get right to it tactically because Timothy Rugg, this is his MO. So now this is huge for his team, Wahoo Lacole. They're going to be forcing the chase. His teammate here, now every team, it looks like they're taking 2 starters out here. And here's a huge talent. This is going to be the South African on Toyota Cryo, Eddie Uhl. And Uhl now has gone past Rugg. Are these 2 going to be able to hold them off? That is a very, very hungry group of wolves right behind them. So it's just body blow after body blow as we go into 1.6K to go. That Rock Arch won't come up quick enough with the huge effort that they're making. Back to you, Nathan. These 2 riders are our leaders, Timothy Rugg and Eddie Uhl.
7 watts per kilogram, trading poles. It completely makes sense to work together at this point and go all in. If you're going off the front at this point, the rest that you will gain in this small amount of time, if you back off from this, it's already said and done. They have to push all their chips into the table. And at 5 seconds, Dave, with such a small pack behind, look at Eddie here. He is completely committed to this move, and he has to be completely committed to this move. And they may have done it. We see Gaffurli now making a move. It's going to be the Italian squad now trying to make a move to come back because that's 10 watts per kilogram going across, Dave, because he thinks that this is gone, and that's a lot of points going up the road. Uhl and Rugg, will they pull it off?
In event 1, the maximum points were 6. The maximum points here are 12. These guys are sitting on 12 and 11 points if they can hold on. So they're certainly looking to leave some crumbs on the table, but not many, as it looks like that gap is coming down, and it's coming down quickly, down to under 2 seconds now. I don't know if they're going to be able to make it. Eddie Uhl has hit out for the finish on his own. Timothy Rugg now going to latch onto that wheel. If they make it, it's going to be by a catch whisker out here. That one rider that's pushing across is going to be the Italian on Castelli, Gaffurli. Gaffurli has made it, so it's 3 away now. So 12, 11, and 10 points in that group. And Nathan, it does look like they will stay away as Gaffurli goes by, however, and he's going to look to take the lion's share of points here, down to just over 400 meters to go. Back to you, Nathan Guerra.
Timothy Rugg now played it so smart. He allowed Uli down. Eddie Uhl pulled him all the way to the line. Rugg goes across to Gaffurli. Gaffurli tried coming over the top, but it looks like Rugg now to the line, perhaps going to be able to play this completely, perfectly, tactically. James Barnes is kicking at 18 watts per kilogram behind, but it's not going to be happening for the win here, as it's going to be Timothy Rugg grabbing 12 points for Wahoo Lacole. Gaffurli for second. Eddie Uhl coming through for third. I have a feeling that there was a little bit of a mishap there behind, but Brood, there it is. John Brood for Next Esports for 4th place. I have a feeling James Barnes maybe with the dropout. I saw it drop to 0 watts per kilogram for a moment. The moment that he kicked for the lead out, it looked like he had to back off. That's too bad to see, but it is going to be his teammate taking the pack sprint for 9 points. But Timothy Rugg, Dave, talk to that play. I mean, he sat in on Uhl's wheel and allowed him to do the work. The moment Gaffurli came by, he jumped right on the next train.
He lit the fuse and was the bomb. That was Timothy Rugg at his very best there. And you can see that Wahoo Lacole, Nathan, they take massive points here today, with Modding scoring up in the top 5 as well. So he was really second in what I'd call the field sprint. But Timothy Rugg with 12 points, that's huge as we take a look at where things stand now after 2 races here. 8 races in the main part of today's event before we move into our final 3 races that make up the final. Wahoo Lacole at 20 points now. Team Castelli presented by Elite. Nice job as they're tied on 11 with Coalition Alpha. Toyota Cryo now 10 points. It's very, very close here between 2nd and 4th, with Wahoo Lacole starting to move away a little bit. Top 5 teams advance. Remembering that Next Esport is sitting right on the right side of the bubble. Movistar on the other side. Well, actually, they're tied at 9 points, so they're both right on the bubble right now. That's a look at our table here as we head into event 3, Nathan. This is going to be really, really fun as we have a chance to mix things up like we never have before. You could clearly not do a race like this in real life. This is the magic of Zwift. And our athletes, you know, their participation in helping us get to this point is really paying off now. What an exciting day. But Nathan, got to say, Wahoo Lacole off to a tremendous start, but who could be surprised by that?
Yeah, I mean, they always have some of the best tactics and best riders when it comes to esports and racing. But as for the viewers wondering, okay, what's the next race? What's the next event? Well, that race number 1 that we saw, that kick right to the line, we'll be doing that 4 times, switching off back to back from the race 2 and the race 3. So we're going to be sticking that race number 1 from the Watopia Pens right to the Watopia Lap Arch 4 times in between each one of these races. Race number 3 will be coming after this one for its first time, and they'll be doing the hilly Watopia forward. But we're going to be taking a look at the
results from race number 1 here and see how things went, just to give us a bit of a picture, a snapshot from a few minutes ago. As Nathan was saying, these riders are just about ready to go again. So it is Simon Nordhals-Svensson was the best of the best out here. Yannick Guman comes through in 2nd for 5 points, and Teppo Lorio, the esteemed Teppo Lorio out of Finland, with 4 points. Thomas Thrall there with 3 points for Next Insured. Movistar's Daniel Gould, 2 points in 5th, and Chell Power there for the Coalition Alpha team with 1 point. Rest of the riders getting shut out. Let's see how close this is. Will we see a carbon copy of those top 6, maybe in a slightly different order?
Yeah, it'll be interesting now. This first race, we didn't know up front, but it looks like there's no drafting in this event, actually, Dave. So essentially, with a 200-meter, 300-meter sprint, there isn't going to be any sitting on any wheels in order to come through. On that downhill with the draft, there may have been an ability to kind of sit in and then accelerate around them, because you do get a pretty good draft on a little bit of a downhill if it did exist. But without it there, this is just a muscle it to the line.
It's also worth remembering that it's a bit of a downhill at the start here. It's gradual, but it's enough that it makes a difference. So those early watts that you're able to, you know, as you've said before, speed is king out here. And Zwiftcraft, getting up to your top speed early is going to be how you win. And that was exactly what we saw there from Simon in the first race. Realizing that there was no draft, he just ramped it up to top speed, although Thomas Thrall had a little bit stronger kick right out of the pens. Ultimately, the horsepower that the Norwegian had was just overwhelming. I'm expecting something pretty similar here, to tell you the truth. The quality of that rider, and actually all the riders in our top 3, is indisputable. There they are in the pens. Nathan, we've got another race to look forward to. We're going back now in this unique format to what you saw, that we're calling this Venue 1 here. We're inside of 5 seconds to start, Nathan. Here we go. There's going to be a sonic boom coming out of the pens. We've launched the riders. Nathan, this one goes full gas immediately. And let's take a look. It looks like Teppo Lorio sitting 4th wheel, but it's going to be Simon again.
Yeah, Nordvold-Svensson, look at this move by him right from the get-go, over and over again, showing that he's just got a 17 to 18 watt per kilogram kick. The riders trying to do something about it, unable to even respond, and completely dominates this again. Nordvold-Svensson followed up by Kuman. Teppo Lorio ends up taking a place higher here, so that kick to the line a little bit better from him this time around. We've actually seen a pretty good swap around in the places below 1st and 2nd. Gould there for 4th. It's going to be Zhao Power in 5th this time. Thomas Thrall ends up in 6th. Bickley 7th. And Paniza 8th. Felrath 9th. Pulley coming around in 10th. And Sam Hill in 11th place. Dave, interesting. Again, the tactic, as you said, I think is everything you got right from the get-go.
Yeah, it's actually pretty simple, straight ahead. It's the exact same 6, just in a slightly different order, although really not all that different. Thomas Thrall, they're sliding down a little bit, but again, Nordhals Svensson, the Norwegian, just phenomenal. He's already picked up now 12 points, Nathan, with a 24 maximum.
Yeah, and the idea that these riders are going to go ahead.
Let's take a look at round 3 points here. It's going to be Wahoo Lacole still on top of the table with 28. Kalish there, even with the phenomenal sprinting, they're still sitting right here in second now with 17. Still tied on 14 points in third and fourth is Coalition Alpha and Movistar E-Team. 5th place now is a tie between Avis Lacole and Next Esport. Moving down, because how close this is. Fantastic racing today. Team Castelli with 11 points in 7th. Toyota Cryo RDT 8th place right now at 10. And then still waiting to score out here. Hexagon, Velocio, Swedish Swifters, and Aero. So after 3 races of the 8 that will make up the bulk of the racing leading us into our finals here today. Again, 5 teams qualify. So, Nathan, it's really close there. All of these teams, Coalition, Movistar, Next, Avis, they're all right there. And they got Castelli to worry about as well. Beautiful racing out here so far today.
Well, next up, we are going to be having our race number 3. We'll have 2 more of what you just saw. We'll see if anybody can take on Simon Nordhals Svensson from Cali. Wahoo Lacole still at the top. Race number 3 is going to be really interesting because they are going to be taking on the Watopia Forward KOM climb. It's going to have a little bit more of a grind to it, I think, Dave. And we're going to be looking for the climbers. Well, I don't know. Is it a pure climber? I'm not sure. But, I mean, the reality, I think, here is they're going to be throwing their star, when it would come to a first across the line rider, the riders that would be their winning GC riders, most likely begin thrown at the hilly Watopia Forward KOM.
Well, and there's a major problem for everybody racing here is an on-form Danish rider, Joachim Liesland, has been nearly unbeatable in racing on Zwift over the last couple months, and he will be in this field. So, again, you've got to consolidate and have a plan coming into this one. And remembering now how the points are distributed out here, we call this the 3rd race. This is the 3rd venue. This will be the 4th time that we've actually started an event out here. Part of the complexity of today is what makes it so fun. The riders all have different roles. Some of them are doing the short sprint. It's not even 3K before things are done and dusted. They race 4 times so far. We've seen the Norwegian perfect out there. Absolutely spot on perfect. Now, the riders that we've got coming up now don't race as often, but the duration is longer, Nathan, and the points value. We're stacking them more from 12 down to 1 or 10 down to 1 in some of these other events where if you've got 2 riders and you can put 2 like Velocio did, putting 2 in the top 5 is a game changer. That's why they're on top of the table.
Speaking of Joachim Liesland, he does have Leonard Tugels to go up against, so it'll be interesting to see those two going head-to-head. Liesland on World Championships had an amazing ride on this 2 years ago. I'd really be watching out for him. We saw him on Wednesday Worlds, actually, this past week. Absolutely dominate this specific climb. Maybe that was a little bit of a warm-up for him 2 days ago. He did this in a 1:26, I believe it was, over the top of the KOM. We'll see if he can better that.
In a big peloton.
In a big peloton, but with fresh legs and the amount of pressure here, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. No power up though, right? So no power up, a little bit different as far as that goes. Just pure wattage to the top.
Yeah, power-ups only come into play, Nathan, a little bit later today. We're working our way through these first 8 individual races, but in the finals you'll see power-ups. So just a little bit later, I'm just hearing from race headquarters that they have told our riders they're inside of 30 seconds to start. So really the nerves start to ratchet up right now. You can see that there's so much in play out here. For really, there's 5 different teams looking for 4 spots, because I think it's really indisputable that what's going on right now with Wahoo Lacole is phenomenal. But they got to keep that momentum going. Things can change change on a dime out here. Back to you, Nathan. Racing action, ready to get underway.
Going to be a little bit more tactical this time around, I'm assuming. Going to have a left-hand turn in just a moment. Will they send another rider off the front? These teams early on could make some of the others chase in order to waste some of their matches. I think it's going to be a little bit calmer, though. We are looking at Leonard Tugels. There is Zanaska as well, our breakaway rider in Yorkshire a few weeks back. We'll see if he can do this again. Jorklin now making his way through the pack. Wahoo Lacole sitting pretty toward the back here, it looks like. There's Learson now to the front. Ollie Jones is here, one of the Zwift Academy finalists here. Leonard Tugels, though, here he goes. 197, super chill. Look at that spread across the road here. They're definitely waiting for those lower slopes of the forward KOM.
Yeah, this one might become the tactical slugfest, although as I see Zach Nair's name pop here, I would absolutely look for someone to replicate someone. Leonard Tugels might not be a bad example of replicate what we saw Timothy Rugg do a little bit earlier. That was a much shorter race, but there's Lucas Zanaska moving up as well. This is a murderer's row of esports athletes out here. Nathan, I honestly think right now the massive amount of talent that we've got in this group is neutralizing each other out, because these guys realize that unless you have an authentic, all-in attack, you're not going to phase these gentlemen. This is the cream of the crop in esports right now. I mean, Brian Duffy Jr. is out here. Lucas Zanaska, tremendous form. Every one of these names rings true, but that is the man. No doubt about it. He's the king of esports right now, and as we look forward to our World Championships coming up in March, how can you look past Joachim Lisa?
Bottom of the top move here. Ollie Jones, 11.6, it looks like watts per kilogram. That's a serious move. Kaminsky jumps right on his wheel. That's a lead-out train. That is a definite move here by Coalition Alpha. Now Kalman responds to it immediately. They don't want to let him get too much distance. 12 watts per kilogram here coming from Alexei Kalman. Now backs it off as they cover the move by Coalition Alpha. Will they be able to hold on to the front end of this pack, as Jones doesn't even look like he's too much bothered at this point. 180 beats per minute. Now backs on off a little bit as the full kick is going to come. This little flat out here, Dave, they can grab so much speed if they kick through here.
And here we go. Wahoo Lacole's going to play some cards right now. That's going to be Alvarado. He hits out. Again, the strength of this peloton shows you how quickly they responded. Ollie Jones goes up and over the top, but it's the churn going on right now. Down to 400 meters to go. They're going to go incredibly deep right now. You mentioned Leonard Tugels, and there is the Belgian Express with Brian Duffy Jr. now making his surge. They're going to rapidly run out of real estate, Nathan, as they quickly come up on 250 meters to go. This is one of the most infamous climbs on Zwift. Most well-loved, and there's the finish trust with, that's going to be Duffy Jr. on the front to you, Nathan.
Duffy Jr., but here comes Joachim Leeson with the perfect time. Is it going to be Leeson, Jr., Tugels over the top. It's Tugels takes it down. What the timing. Brian Duffy Jr., he tried to get that gap, Dave, and it looked like he almost had it, but they grabbed onto his wheel, and it was Leeson and Tugels sitting on that wheel, perfectly timing it, coming over the top. Kalman Bouchard Hall actually overhauling Duffy Jr. as well. He ended up being the lead-out man in the last 200 meters as it flattened out a little bit. He got the gap, Dave, on that kick, that little bit of an uphill grade, but instead of being able to hold on to it, when it flattened out a little bit, Tugels and Leeson came over the top.
With these monsters, Nathan, it is so hard to hold off. One of the top racers of all time, Leonard Tugels, on top of the table there with 12 points. Leeson ends up second. Kalman ending up third. It was nice to see. That's going to be Leonard Tugels that we're in with right now. Nice to see Velocio get onto the table there with KBH, Kevin Bouchard Hall, picking up fourth. But Leonard Tugels, certainly, Nathan, his regard is massive. But we have a chance to look at our team points now. This is going to be interesting. As Toyota Cryo RDT, this is just from this last event that we witnessed, picking up 17 points there. Amos Lacole with 13 in second. Next, Esport presented by Inshort with 12. Kalish in fourth with 10. I mentioned Velocio getting the 9 points off of KBH's effort. Coalition Alpha in sixth. Hexagon presented by Saris will be in seventh. And then the final team collecting any points will be Team Castelli with 2. So that's how it all sorted out there for team points after the, phenomenal climb on Nathan. When you look at it, these riders really have their roles on the squads. And I'm going to be going back again to the sprint mode.
Let's take a look here at the replay of what just went down. See how we can see how these riders played it out, as it does look like Luke Tugel's there at the last 50 meters coming over the top. The timing was perfect. Leeson thought that maybe he was able to come across, but I think there just wasn't an ability there at the end. I mean, Dave, really, from about that halfway point or so, Dave, of that hilly KOM, the start is kind of a shakeup, you know, and then as you get to that halfway point, it levels off. It's a two-tier climb. You figure out where exactly you're at. You try and find your way to those top 5 wheels or so, and essentially it's a full gas sprint to the top at that point. Anybody who can tactically play a game from that point forward, man, you're just another level above. And I think Tugels, as well as Leeson, really are at that level, whereas Duffy Jr. said, I'm going to attack full on, last third there, see if he could get that gap. He really gambled with it there. It might have been all he had to the line, actually, because if he waited, he might have found himself even further back as he ends up in 5th. Really goes to show, Dave, how tactical a climb like this can be out on Zwift.
Yeah, when you look at it, a bit of a preview, to tell you the truth, at the World Championship, it had that vibe, didn't it? That kind of quality, and it shows you how hard it is to get any kind of a gap as well. It really is. That was exactly what esports racing is all about at this point. Now, when you look at those guys, they'll be back here in a little bit. We've got a few minutes now for things just to kind of settle in and let us take in what's happening out here today, as we're kind of through the middle part of the main event. 5 teams are going to qualify to go into the finals. Now, they have already submitted, before racing began today, Nathan, the roster if they do. So a provisional, if we make the finals, this is our roster. We had a brief chance to look at, it'll be 3 fresh courses, virtual venues that they'll be racing on. But right now we're going to be really going back and repeating what you've already seen. The racers on the shorter course, they're doing 4 different events today, but all on the exact same course. Can the Norwegian sweep, Nathan? Can he take all 4 sprints? Let me start there as we break down all 3 of the events that we've seen here. Again, I know it's a complicated day of racing, but we're going to go back and look at the first of the 3 venues here, back to Watopia. And Nathan, what do you think? Can Simon do it 2 more times?
So far, it's proven to be keeping Callus Esports in the race, actually. A lot of their points coming from that first sprint race with Simon. So I think what's really cool about this format and the way that it's working between each one of these race types is that the teams and what they shine at is really evening things out. We're seeing some changes across the entirety of the day today, because Wahoo Lacole, they didn't score any points at that KOM, actually. Interesting enough, they've been at the top so far, and they've been very consistent so far. So let's go ahead and take a look at these points and see how things have changed up, throwing different event formats and different types of riders at each one of these. As we take a look at these points, it looks like Wahoo Lacole at the top still, but after scoring no points in that last one, it's 1 point between them and Toyota Cryo DT. Dave, and as you saw, speak, Dave, to the reality of how many points Toyota Cryo DT gained in that Watopia Hilly. I mean, they jumped up in the leaderboard. Callus hanging in there in 6th right now with everything from those sprint races. Really goes to show how teams can shine with individual riders.
This is fantastic, and it speaks to, so whoever designed this point structure right now and laid out the racing venues that we're on has got to be smiling, because this is 100% what you're looking for. Wahoo Lacole takes an early lead. They did a tremendous, we haven't even talked really about race 2. That's actually what we're looking at in the background there, Tempest Fugit, with that 2.2K sprint where they took 1st and 5th. Well, things sure changed quickly after we went back to the hilly KOM on Watopia. As you're right, Toyota Cryo made massive inroads, almost evening things up. But it's also noteworthy that Avis Lacole are stride for stride with Toyota Cryo there. Next Esport also. So you've got a 4-team race. I talked about where we were sitting after the previous event. Everything has changed overnight. Coalition Alpha within striking distance, 100%. And now that's the bubble. We talk about the 5 teams that advance into the 3-race final. Kalish has got some work to do. Movistar and Team Castelli, though, after what they just witnessed, they realized that if they can catch a break, make some moves, that it's not out of reach. Velocio starting to make their mark now. Hexagon, presented by Saris with 7, and then Swedish Swifters and Arrow. It's just tough out there. It really is. The quality right now of teams like Toyota, Wahoo, Avis, Next, Coalition, it's just through the roof. And also remembering that our friends on the Arrow team are racing at a ridiculous hour of the day as well. So always want to factor in. I wish we could give them a couple points just for the fact, Nathan, that they're up at 3 a.m.
Now, 100%. I mean, it's a very, very early morning for them. Hopefully, they can grab a few points on the board. But what have we learned so far? Now, watching each one of these races in this new format, I think what we learned so far is that race number 2, that event that we see out on the Fuego Flats, is the very tactical one when it comes to how are you going to play this out. 2.2 kilometers of flat. Are you going to make a move early on? If you do make a move early on, you're risking a lot. Is anyone going to make a chase? We saw a breakaway get a ton of points because of it. Amazing move by Walu Cole there, but can they repeat that? Now, we've seen repeatable efforts, though, on you put people on a hill climb. What's their ability there? Tactically, it can play out a little bit differently in the top 4 to 5. We're probably going to see something very similar when it comes to the results across the sprint as well as the KOM. I think that middle race, that race number 2 on the Fuego, that's going to be the telltale as to whether or not Calais can get back involved. Some of these riders that are a little bit lower down, the teams are a little lower down outside of that top 10. They're not hitting that 22-point marker that Coalition Alpha is kind of on within that striking distance. They're going to have to make up a lot, I think, on the Fuego Flats and then eke their way into the results in race 1 and race 3 with a little bit better showing. But I think Fuego Flats is really going to be the telltale as to whether or not these lower down points teams are going to get back involved at the top.
As we learn a lot about racing in these different formats that we've got in the Swift Grand Prix, I think, Nathan, you make a great point. The second venue that we're at, Fuego Flats there, that's the most tactical, and I think that's where some of the teams can roll the dice and maybe try, especially for going forward. Maybe not today, because at the end of the day, the Lions are roaring out here. You make a great point in the final race and the first race. It really comes down to you can either do this or you can't. And those guys are climbing at such a high level out there that you really are down to the 5 guys that can do that. I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of. These are the best in the world right now. And the same thing goes for the race we're heading to right now. We're going to go back to the pens as it's another sprint fest coming up. The Norwegian, Nathan, looking to make it 3 for 3. They've entered the launch code. It's been approved at headquarters. And here we go, Nathan. Back to Watopia, and there's the champ in the house. Can he do it again?
1,283 watt max, and right from the get-go, now it's just all about holding on to the wattage. 15 watts per kilogram. What's this man's 32nd gonna be? Up into 179 beats per minute. Simon Svensson is a maniac. Distances himself from everybody. Kuhlman, Lorio, they come across for second and third, but this man can just repeat that effort and pure sprint talent, as you can see, coming from Simon Svensson. Wow. And this is keeping him in the race. This is keeping him in. 24 points total he's going to collect if he can just keep repeating this, and this is amazing for Calais because this really puts them back on the board.
Well, yeah, that's 3 out of 3 now for Nordhall Svensson. He is in fuego out here today. I think the God of Watts is an appropriate nickname there. That's bananas. There's just nothing you can do, but notice that the 6 don't change. It's the same group over and over with Gianni there. 5 points for second. Teppo, 3 points for third. Chell Power, 4th place. 3 points go along with that. Thomas Thrall, Canadian, Canucks up for another 2 points for his next insured team. And it's going to be Daniel Gould for Movistar Esports team. He's 6th place. That gets 1 point. Everybody else goes back with an empty basket.
I'm absolutely loving. I'm watching a few of the chats come on through, and Tuppo's actually in chat. The guy who just took third just said, "Woohoo! This is fun." Well, I guess we found a good format, Dave, when the athletes themselves are jumping in chat while we are watching the broadcast, and they are loving this format to the line each and every time. Well, Tuppo took third. He took second, I think, one of these times. He's keeping Wahoo Lacole in the mix. Now we're going to see whether or not his teammates, though, over on Fuego Flats can pull off another upset, because Timothy Rugg, what a move by him on the Fuego Flats that last time through. He jumped on he started the freight train, Dave. Then he jumped on as the caboose, and then he just made sure that every train that came by, he was in the right place to stay with that breakaway and walk away at the end. And this is a guy that takes the bull by the horns, as you would say, Dave.
Yeah, it's the only way he knows how to race. It's his instinct. And a leopard doesn't change its spots, as they say. And I'm certainly going to be expecting that he'll be very, very active in the race again. I have to say that Teppo Lorio, who really is an esports all-time favorite, has become maybe Finland's second most famous athlete after Valtteri Bottas at this point. I mean, this guy's got a tremendous amount of personality. I'm glad to hear that he's loving it out there. Now, this one again, 2.2K. They're going to be going from the Pens and Watopia out to the Rock Arch. So we've seen this one play out as a three-rider group that went clear. Fortune favors the brave. It certainly did the last time out here, Nathan. And I think that, I think you're going to see something very, very similar here. Maybe not all the same actors, but the same play.
Interesting, Dave. I wonder, because did the riders learn something? Because usually on a course like this, I would say let it go. I would say it's going to come back. That didn't come back at all. It went out to 10, 15 seconds.
That's why.
And it's exactly. And so I think the reality of being able to kick like this, I have a feeling the riders may have learned something this time around, and they're going to chase things a lot quicker. And I have a feeling the DSs were in their ears, and they probably now have somebody to be the chaser and somebody to be the sprinter. I would assume those would be some roles now.
Let's take a look at results from the last race. We're just about ready to go. Sounds like about a minute until our next start, but these are the race 2 results. So this is what happened last time out here. The aggressive Timothy Rugg took the win. The Italian was super impressive, though. He ended up, as you said, Nathan, going from station to station, bridging up to that group, and then the very talented Eddie Uhl out of South Africa ends up third. The field sprint, if you can call it that, the deuce field sprint, it was Jay Bruin taking that, but it was really critical here what happened with Wahoo Lacole as Modding ends up 5th, but that's a lot of points. They took 20 points out of this event, and thank goodness they did, because they're down to a 1-point lead at this point. So Nathan, you can see how the rest of the points sorted themselves out with some huge names like, ZRL champions, Harvard Jelnis and Mateus de Roos, Vidar Mel, all 3 of those guys not in the top third of the field out there. That says a lot about the depth and the quality of what we've got going on in the Zwift Grand Prix. This is the best esports I've ever seen. No doubt about it. Just loving this thing.
Now, you saw John Bruin up there, but someone that was missing that's an amazing sprinter and very great tactician was James Barnes. James Barnes not scoring any points, and as we saw just a moment ago, I believe next, presented by Insured, we're in about 4th place, but they were within striking distance, only 4 or 5 points behind. Mm-hmm. Barnes not scoring there, they actually would have been in 1st place. And because of his dropout, that actually put them in behind the ball now. But if you put Barnes into that equation for this next race, this is actually a place where they can make a jump, right? So they're probably thinking, look, you guys, we just had a little bit of bad luck that last one, right? And so, look, we're really going to put a lot of chips on the table, I think, for this next race in order to bump themselves maybe up in that 1st place. 20 seconds to go, Dave. This is going to be it. Is this plan going to work out?
I really like your mindset on that, and I 100% agree. If you're next in short, you realize, hey, we had a little bit of a bummer situation, but we know we've got the goods. Let's make it pay off this time. I expect them, as we hear now, 5 seconds to start, so here we go. Great point, Nathan. I'm going to watch for next and short to make a real run. They've got to be hyper motivated out here right now. This is a fun one. And we are underway. Who attacks first? Who flinches first? There's James Barnes. Again, that South African flag. He's racing out of New Zealand. He had 3 wins in the final ZRL season before we moved into the Grand Prix format. And here we go, Nathan. The fireworks have begun on Tempest Fugit.
Yeah, and last time we saw Rugg trying to take off right from the get-go. Lino Viasin, the Duck, says, enough of that. I'm not sitting in and watching this go. Covers the move. And now with the churn, Dave, it completely changes the conversation. People are covering move after move. They know it's going to be a freight train of a pack, and it's going to be more about the churning of the pack and where your positioning is and the timing of when you kick through to cover a move. That's going to be more important this time around rather than chasing down a break.
Yeah, in the previous race, there was no drafting. It is available here. So drafting is enabled. It makes a big, big difference. And you can see right now 3 riders starting to move up the front. It's going to be Modding, Uhl again, and Souton, the Hexagon rider. Lino Viasin, though, monitoring things. Regulators mounting up right now. Nathan, this might be more exactly speaking to what you were talking about. It looks like we might have more of a regular sprint here as nobody's giving any leash at all. Watch out for Lino Viasin now, the Duck.
It's going to be all about timing and positioning here now. Now, here we go. Somebody who does not want it to be a full-on sprint from a 200 meters. He wants to get away. It's going to be Gafuri off the front. Paradian's here now making a move as well. That's one of our Zwift Academy finalists, actually, that just got announced, actually, yesterday. And Paradian's looking to show what he's worth out here today. Jasper going across now, though. Where's the Viasin? Are they going to let it go, Dave?
Yeah, well, I don't think there's anything you can do about it. Jasper Paradines, the Belgian with a show of force right now. Belgian up. It's going to be Gafuri, who's had a tremendous ride out here. He's going to try to hold on for second. You can see the heat is coming like a blowtorch right behind him, but I think Jasper Paradines stays away, Nathan. This is a big one now for Amos LaCole as they could move themselves into first here.
Vidar Mayo now ramping things up. I think that's going to be also for his teammate as Mayo kicks 11 watts per kilogram and trying to get away, but that's going to get some response. Eddie Uhlny now coming along with 9 watts per kilogram. I think he's going to get caught, Dave. Only 2 seconds with about 300 meters to go. I think Vidar Mayo kicking 11 watts per kilogram. Sagerbrook now kicks 13 watts per kilogram coming from the man from Coalition Alpha. That's most likely going to come over the top. Paradine's trying to hold on, but there's the catch. Coalition Alpha, 1 second, closed right on down. He gets the gap on the pack, but are they going to roll in as well? No, Sagerbrook holds on. James Barnes for second there, and third, I think, goes to Vidar Mayo, perhaps, but Sagerbrook, what a move. The timing was perfection, Dave.
Yeah, boy, I tell you what, between his esports and his track racing, Spencer Sagerbrook out of St. Louis, Missouri, has really turned himself into a tremendous multi-discipline talent. And that was a big one. There you go, Nathan. James Barnes got up there, and that was exactly what you spoke about. Next in short is going to be really happy with the second and a fourth. Vidar Mel, excuse me, I'm going to up. My bad. Vidar Mel for third, and Jonas Bjarhed is going to end up in fourth with John Brune now in fifth. Still very good for both Movistar and Next in Short. Coalition Alpha not going to be disappointed to see Spencer Sagerbrook taking 12 points. It's going to be then Modding, Gelnus, Villiers, Paradane, so Jasper, and I thought for sure he was going to have it there. It shows you how dynamic it is. He ends up all the way down in 9th after that blistering attack. Bada for 10th, Bosted for 11th, and Frank rounding out our top 12 spots there. 12 points for the top of the table. Nathan, I'll throw it back to you so we can see how the team points scored out there in this individual race.
Things really shaking up now, Dave, as next they get both their athletes across the line in prime positions. 19 points across for both Movistar and Next. That's going to bump them way up. Wahoo LaCole made that risk, and it paid off the first time around in that race on Fuego Flats, but Timothy Rugg off the back, it looks like this time, not being a classic sprinter. Coalition Alpha sitting there in third with 12 points, as you can see, with Biasin grabbing some solid points. It looks like it's going to be Callis Esports presented by Wahoo Burke in 6th right now. That's going to be good for them. In 5th with 6 points for those points here. That's going to be good for them to bump them up a little bit as well and hold on after Simon's been performing so well in the first sprint race. For Locio now 6, it's going to be Amos LaCole in 7th with 4. It's going to be Team Castelli presented by Elite with 3 points. Arrow grabbed 2 points. Hexagon, Toyota, as a Crowd T, and Team Swedish Rifters, they get nothing in this race 2, event number 6.
All right. So, all right, let's take a look at our round 3 points up till this moment. And boy, it's going to be exciting. Next, Esport has taken the top of the table with 46 now, but nothing is out of play as Wahoo with 39 into second. Coalition Alpha 2 points behind them in third. Avis Lacole 2 more points back for fourth. Another 2 points back has your top five. 5 teams will punch their ticket into our final. And coming up now is our 7th of 8 events that lead into the finals. So we're running out of opportunity out here. Kalish, Toyota, Castelli, Velocio. These are the teams that are still in the hunt out here, Nathan. But again, they're running out of real estate.
Yeah, and what I really like about this is how many points that are still up for grabs on that Watopia Forward KOM. And if somebody didn't play it exactly how they liked that first time around, they may be able to bump those teams that are right on the edge in that 6th through about 7th, 8th, maybe even 9th or so if there's some big boosts. Simon, he's keeping them in. Callis are in here, but he's got to repeat this again. He looks unstoppable in this sprint race. If he does it again, he's going to bump them one more time. But these other teams that are around him, they may be able to grab some points away from some tiring legs, maybe in that 2nd and 3rd. So it'll be interesting to see. Here's a look at the monster himself, resting up, getting the legs ready there, shaking about, Dave. Classic sprinter in the last 200 meters.
Yeah, I mean, this is a clinic that he's been putting on out here, just shaking the muscles, getting loose, preparing himself. This is like watching a lion right before it attacks an antelope in the Serengeti, right? Just kind of getting loose and ready to go. He's been unbeatable, undeniable, and certainly I would have, if you wanted to put some odds out there, I think most people would put him up against the rest of the field. This is probably the biggest danger man, the wild card, Teppo Lorio here that we're looking at. He looks motivated and is always in for a fight.
Now, one thing to notice here, Dave, Teppo really needs to perform here consistently the way that he has, because there's been a big jump over the top of Wahoo in these last couple of events. They were really dominating from that performance in race number 2 the first time around. But now, Dave, we've seen them slipping a little bit, and since they got no points in the first K1 forward, I would be shaking a little bit if there's some performances from some of these other teams. It's only top 5. If they get jumped by 3 teams, bam, they're out, Dave. So we'll see what happens here. Teppo's got to perform down in the pens now.
It's a violent effort, no doubt about it. Only the strong need apply to be participating in this absolute throwdown. Look at the launch. This man goes absolutely nuclear as he's dimming the power grid in all of Scandinavia right now. Simon Nordahl Svensson looked to go 4 for 4. Nathan, the chase is on behind him as he brings the heat.
Yeah, and he's got the distance now. I don't think he's going to be caught. It's really a race for second at this point. Here comes Lorio, though. Lorio at 50 watts per kilogram. Is he going to overhaul it? No, not going to happen. It's Teppo Lorio for second, but Nordahl Svensson takes it down again. Teppo keeps Wahoo Lacole in the chase for the top spots. And over and over again, man, Nordahl Svensson, 6, 6, and 6, and 6. Dave, 24 points scored for his team. Callis have shown us they're the sprinters today.
Maximum bonification. Good job, Teppo Lorio there, as he'll pick up a lot of points for his Wahoo Lacole team as well. That's really helped keep them in the conversation in the overall. So this was event 7 of 8. The last time, well, 5 of these riders will be back as their team will have made it into the final. But these guys will get a chance to cool down. Some of the teams, Nathan, can expect to transfer into the final. Some are going to be watching closely as their teammates dig in. This is what the squad skirmish is all about. One final race in what I'll call our regular season. This is how the points have stacked up. It's 3 points separating first and second. Next, presented by Insured on 47. That's the top of the table. Wahoo Lacole with 44 points in second. Coalition Alpha there, 39 points in third. Avis Lacole, 38 points. This is where it gets very, very interesting. Avis Lacole with 38. 37 there for Movistar E-Team. Kalish is absolutely in it. It's been right now pretty much all Simon. You know, he's going to need his teammates to step up. Let's see what they've got on this climb. That's the Norwegian Kalish team there, sitting right now on the wrong side of the bubble with Movistar on the right side of it. Toyota Cryo, they still realize that anything is possible in esports. They're in 7th. Castelli presented by Elite. They came out hot, and now they're sitting 1 point ahead of Velocio. Hexagon with 7 in 10th. Arrow in 11th, and Team Swedish Swifters just not having their day. And it looks like it's Norwegians are the kings of Scandinavian esport today.
Those points there, Dave, when we took a look at the 27 points for Toyota Priority T, a lot of those were gained on the climb that we're about to see. I have a feeling there's some shaking in the boots when it comes to a big jump that Toyota Priority T can make on this final climb. It's really going to come down to the hilly KOM forward. And Joachim Leeson, there's a lot riding on his shoulders right now. Whether or not he can do what he usually does on this forward KOM, he's done it many times, and it's gonna be a make it or break it moment for that team, I think, for his performance that we're about to see.
You know, Nathan, these athletes really, they're gladiators. They don't really have an off switch. You can't toggle down from maximum effort. And that's really on a climb like this. You are completely committed to it. You can't back off 2 or 3% to save that for later. So I would expect, much like we've talked about through the day with race 1, where we've seen the same 6 riders having success, you'll see the same thing on this climb. It sorts things out. The natural order is really going to be determined by how many watts per kilogram you can make for basically a good minute and a half, even a little bit less than that, to tell you the truth. It's brutal. I don't know that there's another day that hurts more. I think we might have a quick review here on some of the points, as we always appreciate, want to make sure we've got things right. And from what I understand, Kalish is in 2nd. So that's a pretty big change there, Nathan. Just want to make sure we didn't lead folks astray or down the wrong path. So correcting that previous board, this is the updated round 3 points after 7 of 8 races. So let me just do it again for dramatic effect. The top 5 teams will advance. It's a 1. We wanted to make it even more exciting, Nathan. It's only 1 point now separating the teams that will qualify, but they've got to get to the top of this climb. But that really changes things. 2 points separating the top. Next is our leaders. Kalish there in 2nd, Wahoo in 3rd, and it's really only 3 points separating the top 3. A little bit larger of a gap back to Coalition Alpha. I wouldn't say that anybody is safe in spots 4 or 5, to tell you the truth. So Coalition Alpha has Avis Lepole right behind them. And this is all in play right here. Actually, Nathan, everything is in play. But that 5th spot, the coveted spot in the finals, let's see who grabs it. So we're going to go back to, again, apologies there, folks. Wanted to make sure we had that right before we sent our riders out on course.
Yeah, now with those points that we just saw, what we saw with those very close numbers between Coalition Alpha, 4th, 5, and 6th, are really important. But I still, as you said, I don't think Coalition Alpha are safe here, because the points that were gained from the 5th, 6th, and 7th places were mainly on this forward KOM. So I think Coalition Alpha really got to show up in this final race, because Leonard Tugels is on Avis Lecole. We see Joachim Leeson, again, I know we're naming him a lot here, but for Toyota Priority T, he is really the one to watch out for when it comes to this climb, and he's going to keep them in this race. And Movistar E-Team also performed extremely well on this climb. We're about to jump down now in 5 seconds here. Here we go into the final race before we hit into the last qualifier here now, Dave. Here we go. Kaminsky now leading things out on the left-hand side.
Oh, these teams have got to feel like they're in the e-sport fight of their lives out here right now. There's another rider that can really do something out here. It's Brian Duffy Jr. So next, no one can feel comfortable, but they might have a little bit of a buffer out here. But other than that, it's going to be complete pandemonium. So we've got the windup. There goes our first attack. It's going to be Jammers. Daniel Jamrozic has hit out. I love it. Velocio trying to get out in front of things. So a monster move being made by Jamrozic. First play has been made as the clash of the Ash is underway here in what is one of the most highly regarded and well-written climbs. That's Jamrozic. As I said, it almost looks like he's wearing a costume.
Yeah, Jammer's right from the get-go here, and I think he knows the reality of himself against the rest of these riders with a punch just not going to work out, right? So he knows he's not as punchy of a climber as the rest of these riders. If he can get a gap and not fade climb in quotes there, but it might not be the same kind of a punch effort from bottom to top. Gets the gap and then holds this all the way to the top the best he possibly can. That's his best chance here to make this and get some points for Velocio, Dave.
Yeah, maybe they can double dip because KBH had a good ride last time here for Velocio up in the top 5. I think even 4th place. This is a nice advantage that he's opened up, Nathan. I completely agree. There's really no such thing as a sag climb here, but this climb starts proper here in just a moment. As a matter of fact, here we go. The pitch goes way, way up. It is a 2-tiered climb. The finale is really basically flat. It's almost, it really feels flat by the time you've been through all of this. So that's going to be, Plantero, the hexagon rider now sitting in second. Jem Rosick is our leader. So we're focusing in now on the Tête de la Course. It's going to be over in a flourish now, as this is going to be Plantero again. Brian Duffy Jr. is behind him, and Martin Mertens there with Kaminsky starting to lead up the big hit coming. There's Leonard Tugel's name starting to show up, Nathan. All right, these guys through the first third of the climb now.
I think Jem Rosick might have done this, Dave. 15 seconds. I'm doing a little bit of math, and I think at 8 watts per kilogram, if he can continue on and have another kick to the line,
here.
15 seconds, Dave. 15 seconds is exactly what you need to climb at about an 8 watt per kilogram over the top of these other riders.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Certainly, all credit goes to a rider willing to take chances out here. And now it starts to look incredibly realistic for Plantero here to take the top points. The points today scoring 12 down to 1. So the top 12 riders are the ones that walk away with something. Let's take a look now at the peloton as they start to ramp things up.
Yeah, and it's going to be Jem Rosick was holding. He's not going to be able to make it happen here. Plantero is now able to make this happen at 8.8 watts per kilogram. They're gone, Dave. They let first and second go. Jem Rosick might get caught. He needs a kick to the line. 7 seconds being closed down very quickly by Zanaska. Where's Joachim Leeson? Joachim here now at 14 watts per kilogram. Here comes the kick from him and Alvarado, but it's going to be Plantero taking it down. Look at the effort. 190 beats per minute just about. Jem Rosick holds on for second. Zanaska. Leeson takes it down for third. Zanaska for fourth. Tugels for fifth, it looks like. Dave, that's such an upset. Nobody would have thought that kind of a move would have made it, but Plantero and Jem Rosick make it happen.
That's the beautiful thing about racing, whether it's in real life or virtual, is that you get these opportunities. And man, did Mikko Plantero make the most of that one. Jem Rosick gets a ton of credit too, getting out in front of that and being able to hold on. You really write a huge check to get that kind of a gap. So credit where it's due. Awesome job. It's going to be Joachim Leeson there again in the top 3, but he didn't get a win, but he got a lot of points out of this. We've got Tugels there in 4th, and these are the biggest names in esports that we're looking at, with Brian Duffy Jr. in 5th, Lucas Zanaska there in 6th. It's then Kaminsky, Jones, Alvarado, Nair, Brandland, and KBH. That's your top 12 now. I will say, though, some riders coming out of the woodwork today. Let's see how the points then sort out, Nathan, after all of is said and done in the final of our regular 8 races.
Is going to shake things up a little bit. Hexagon presented by Saris. They've got 12 tied with Velocio. That's a huge jump with Jammers. I think the first race Jammers had something go on because we did not see him participate for points the first time around. He said, forget it, and goes from the get-go, grabs second place there. Next presented by Insured, grab 11. That's going to really solidify them at the top there. Coalition Alpha, they hold on for 11 points there with Toyota Coyote T right behind them with 10. Abus Lacole with 9 in 6th place. Team Castelli presented by Elite with 7 points in 7th. Wahoo Lacole with only 4 points in 8th. Movistar E-Team with only 2 points in 9th. I think they might be the ones that end up losing out here along with Callis. Yep. That really hurts. I think Movistar are really going to be on that bubble after these points. 0 points there for Callis, Arrow, and Team Swedish Swifters.
Isn't that amazing? Nathan Callis just moving up and down and up and down on that the table there after 8 races. I mean, they've been as low as 6th and as high as 2nd, and they took a 0 on that one. This format is fantastic in that it offers all the teams the opportunities where they shine, or they can reinforce their weaknesses. And yeah, it's a lot like the game Risk, the board game Risk. Is you got to make some tough decisions on how you allocate your resources out here. And one thing's for sure that we learned: if you've got a top sprinter on this game, or her game, because the women get their chance to race out here in this format next week as we alternate between men and women each week. And the ladies are going to be really excited when they see how things played out today to have their chance to race in this format. It's a win-win-win situation out here, Nathan. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? You see Kalish absolutely dominating in race ones, but in race threes, they're putting a bunch of zeros up on the board. But is it enough in the balance? And that's where our team, our crack staff is hard at work, because what we're talking about, and I have to say, Nathan, I have no idea who the 5 teams that punch their ticket into the final. But before we find out, let's take a look at the replay and see what this looked like out there in race event 8 on race 3.
And as we see here, it was Jammers off the front. Well, Plantaru, though, overtook him, as you can see in the second half, and timed things so perfectly. Jamrozic fading, but holds on for second. Plantaru here, he timed it perfectly. That final kick grabs the speed and the gap that he needed to get maximum points for Hexagon. You know, Hexagon, presented by Cyrus, they may not make it through to the final round. We'll have to wait for those points to be tallied, but this is a huge win for them in this final, and what a move here from him. Very cool job here, and really it goes to show what a strong team that they are and how well they can represent on the day.
It looks like a horror film,
what kind
doesn't
of
it?
effort.
It looks like he's being murdered.
Yeah, right? I mean,
yeah.
That shows the kind of effort that they put in, Dave, though I think a lot of
If
times
you saw
we're
your
just watching
neighbor like
virtual
that,
avatars.
yeah, unbelievable. And, you know, here's a perspective for you. Again, he's not being murdered, folks. It just looks like it. But, Nathan, that win there was the equivalent of 2 of the sprint wins that we saw from Simon earlier. 12 points is what he collected at that finish line. He not only times it well, he really reaped what he sowed with that effort. And Daniel Jamrozic, tremendous what he did out there as well. He ended up getting 11 points for his team. This is exactly what we were hoping for with the Zwift Grand Prix, to have this kind of a dynamic where teams can make huge moves. And this is just the day of racing we're talking about. We have the whole season of 6 events to look forward to. Today's squad skirmish, though, it sounds like they've just printed the results, and you're going to be the first to know. Nathan, let me throw it to you.
And it looks like next, presented by Ensure, they make it through here. Coalition Alpha hold on as well for second. It's 8 points back with 50 points. Wahoo Lacole in third with 48 points. Abus Lacole with 47. There's the bubble, Dave. Callus Esports, presented by Wahoo Burke, are the next team to make it through with 45 points. And there it is, Dave, with only 2 points being scored in that last race we just watched. Movistar E-Team are out. Toyota Cry DT as well, not able to perform. And really, that might have been the difference in chasing down Jamrozic or not with that team there with 37 points in 7th. Velocio, what an effort. They bumped themselves up really well. They're going to end up in 8th. They're out for the finals here, but what an awesome kick there from Jamrozic for them to grab 27 points total. It's going to be Team Castelli presented by Elite, 9th place with 23. Hexagon presented by Cyrus. They make a really awesome bump there in their points with 19 total in 10th. And then it's going to be Arrow with 2 points and Team Swedish Swifters, 0 points in 12th. Dave, that's the round points as we head into the next phase of this racing event. 9, 10, and 11. Going to be really interesting as we change up the courses that we're on.
I think, Nathan, a great analogy here is football or soccer, as we say in America, but where you can have the best midfielders or strikers or fullbacks, but if you don't have a mix of all, or goalie for that matter, if you've got the best goal scorers but the worst goalie, you're never going to win in the big picture, right? Same thing here. Team depth is going to become even more paramount in esports racing. And the recruitment process and how hard these teams work to get the right riders that fit the ethos of their team. And certainly we've seen that with the next squads or the Toyota Cryos. And Hexagon is a team that's recently come into the big leagues of esport racing and getting some really nice results. So the teams have a brief moment right now, Nathan, to regroup. Would you imagine there's much discussion from the director here as they will will have presented their rosters to headquarters already. So the riders will know what event they're going to be in. And we do know the 3 courses that they're going to be racing on. 3 fresh courses have been prepared here as well. So kind of a turning point in the racing here today as we've qualified our 5 teams into the final. We've got fresh courses to race on, and this is going to sort out the big points here from round 3 of the Zwift Grand Prix.
Yeah, we're heading back to Watopia actually for the first go. Race number 4 is going to be really interesting because it's a little bit longer than anything we've seen so far. It's going to be a full lap of that reverse Watopia Kili KOM and 9.4 kilometers. I think this one is going to be the most tactical out of all of them. And because of that, I have a feeling that this is where you can gain the most points from riders making moves and strategies a little bit differently. Like we saw in the Fuego Flats, people were able to grab points in ways that perhaps just not a straight muscle it, whether or not you got it to the top of the climb. But I mean, look at what Jammers did. He might not have been a rider you would expect to be there, and he upset the apple cart, Dave. So I have a feeling we'll be able to see a lot of that in a longer course where people can play things out a little bit more right in front of your eyes.
Yeah, and this is a little more exactly what you're saying, Nathan. Conventional racing tactics that apply, whereas what we've seen a lot of so far is just these shows of strength. So let's take a quick look at the rider list that we have to look forward to, as the teams won't be subbing riders in or out, but we can see how they've allocated their resource. I'm just going to jump right in. Nathan, I'll take Avis the Gold, this traditionally Belgian team. Obviously, the jersey helps with that, with Jasper Paradines. He'll be in race 4. They put 2 riders into race 4. So this is where things get interesting now. Matthias de Roos is the other. They have 1 rider, Gianni Kuhlmann, into race 5, and then back to 2 for race 6. That's a good look at Avis Lecole and their strategy. Back to you, Nathan, for our next team.
Coalition Alpha are going to be putting Zhao Power and Lionel Viasen into race number 4, putting a lot into that one. Race number 5, Spencer Sagerbrook is going to be taking that on, being a little bit more of a full-on sprint effort that's going over to the Watopia Volcano. Ollie Jones, Michael Kaminsky, race number 6 is going to be their roster.
Let's take a look now at Kalish, one of the 5 teams to advance here, and it's going to be Stein Larsveen is 1, along with Havard Jelnis is the other in race 4. For race 5, it'll be Simon Nielsen. He'll be actually be joined here by Simon Nordhall, and then race 6, it'll be Alexi Kalman, all alone there for Kalish.
Next, esports presented by Insure. James Barnes and Thomas Thrall taking on race number 5. It's going to be race number 6 with Brian Duffy Jr. and Zach Neer. I don't think Adrian Alvarado is going to be racing race number 4 for next presented by Insured. So I have a feeling we'll be seeing him most likely over on Wahoo Lacole.
All right, Nathan. Well, there we go. We're going to go right into the race. Now, as you said, we can kind of take a breath for a moment. Here's a little bit longer duration. Not that long, though. It's just over 9K. There's our danger man, Lionel Viasen, the Duck, the infamous Duck out of Belgium, getting a ride on from someone there on Zwift Companion app, going in cam, always stylish Lionel Viasen. He's been out and active lately, Nathan, really ramping things up here in Zwift Grand Prix season.
You know, a little bit of question that starts coming to my mind as I watch Lionel here and how calm he is whether or not Coalition really planned that well to keep their riders fresh. I wonder if they felt scared at all or if they knew that they could grab a lot of points in the finals there, because they ended up in second place overall, Dave. I mean, that they didn't seem like they were in a really good spot as we got done with the first half of those first rounds of racing. So interesting to see how fresh he is. Now, a little bit of invisibility power up. The disruption power-ups are on here, changes things up a little bit.
It's worth noting that we reset points. Everybody's back at 0 here. One of the things that you really learn at very, very high-end athletics is how teams are very smart about not wasting their burning calories in races where it doesn't matter, so that you're completely loaded up for when it does matter, and that's now. These 3 races, the finales, you can see it's been very interesting in how the teams have decided to place their riders. These are some of the names that are very familiar if you've been watching the last few seasons of esports racing. John Brune, another relative newcomer, but he's had some big wins and massive results, as it looks like Alvarado is going to go again. He's got Howell Davies with him here for the Wahoo LaCole team. These are the 5 teams, but everybody now at 0 points.
Yeah, and here we go here. It's going to be Davies sitting in, looking to play it really smart now at this point. That's who we got live in cam. And there's his avatar, 189 watts, 4.0 watts per kilogram. And look at this at 149 beats per minute, Dave, nobody's going too hard. That's usually right around your zone 2 to zone 3 with this type of an athlete. So I think it's been fairly tempo at this point. They're looking forward, I think, to the reverse KOM because it's got that real sharp kick up front. If they were going to make a move into the SEs, it might be on this sharp kick into the sprint section in just a moment, though, Dave. That's the only other part I could really see a move being made through this SEs.
Racing out of a small group like this is so different than racing out of a large peloton, especially with stacked teams that have massive amounts of talent. Is here, it's wide open, no doubt about it. Most of these riders have got a teammate here, and as you look at it now, it really creates a very unique template to race out of now, and we're going to be looking at Wahoo LaCole. That's going to be, well, just really the churn going on, but it looks like Kalish might have a plan right now as the Norwegian team in black, but again, now we see that the purple and blue of Wahoo LaCole starting to attack, and it looks like Howell Davies has gone. So the very popular Welsh rider here has hit out. Harvard Jelness is going to start leading the chase. Jasper Peredains and Matthias de Roos, actually, the 2 Avis LaCole riders now are very, very interested in what's going on the front, Nathan. Boy, this is starting to hot up pretty quickly. It's a long one in Grand Prix standards today, but they're already down to 7.3 kilometers of racing. It's a bit of a split going on, so it's turning into a wild and woolly affair out here on Watopia. Nathan, active racing. Leave it to these guys. They just start attacking with old school fury out here.
Viasen covering that move, Zhao Power, they didn't seem too concerned as they knew the roll through on the SEs would most likely bring it back. They had to give a little bit of an effort there, and I thought perhaps Paradines, Japster was going to be making the move stick, but not going to happen. It gets covered and killed here, and they're going to be heading on over toward this sprint. Not worth any points or anything, but they do go through this sprint section in just a moment. Power-ups will be collected. We do see the burrito power-up there being used by Lursveen, not to disrupt anything, just to reset, most likely looking for something other than a burrito as they head on to this course uphill. They've got the arrow, invisibility, draft, and burrito up for grabs, 25% each as they run through this banner.
Viasen and Power, 2 really talented riders that work well with each other. That's a wicked tandem, but it looks like Alvarado is back at it again as he opens the throttle up. He has been relentless out here today, and sure enough, it's Kalish on the chase as Harvard Jelness is leading it up now. This is very similar to what we saw just a couple of kilometers ago. So, Nathan, the heavy hitters all over the front, just trying to soften up this group right now. Wow. All right.
Yeah,
So Alvarado, though, is taking some big digs, but it hasn't really had much of an effect.
A little bit of a move with the burrito there. He did take a little bit of a dig. Not orange numbers that's going to really get him a huge gap, but he rolled off the front with the burrito. And with that, no draft being on him for a moment, thought, well, if I'm going to get rid of this burrito the moment I come across this line, I might as well kick a little bit and see if I can get a gap as nobody can draft on me. He did get a little bit of something. It was covered pretty quickly. Not going to put in too much of an effort before they hit that reverse KOM. Now all back together as we can see. Zhaldin's making his way to the front, going to back on off. Who's going to take over? Viasen at 6.8 watts per kilogram. That's just a roll through as Brune sits at the front from Next Esports. Here comes an invisibility power up. This might be a move. Yep, moving to the front. It is going to be Wahoo LaCole with Howell Davies. Not surprised one bit. I think he's going to want to get a gap before they hit the puncher sections of this course.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, you can't look past Matthias de Roos, can you? One of the real talents in this field who seems like he's kept his power relatively dry in the green there. That's going to be John Brune moving up to the front. But this is where I expect Canyon to go to work and take out that 20-pound sledgehammer and start wailing away as it's going to be Chell Power up to the front now. Boy, there's just really so much strength in this group. Trying to do damage is harder than ever at this point. But Kalish is certainly doing more than just keeping their heads above water. As you can see now, yeah, everybody's still right there, Nathan, as we come to the middle part of this race.
Stick and move. It makes me think here it becomes a little bit more of a tactical fight now on course, seeing where people stand, who can respond to what, and nobody's been able to make anybody budge from this group. Everybody pretty even until we're going to hit this climb. We're only about, I'd say, half a K, maybe a little bit less from the start of the slope of the reverse KOM, and at that point it's going to be full-on fireworks. They hit the double digits when it comes to the uphill grind in just a moment. Alvarado makes a move again, sets himself up to not have to chase when it comes to the climbing. Vossen makes a move to follow.
He's done everything he can to get out in front of this race. We're talking about Alvarado here, but they just won't play around with it. That's going to be Lionel Viasen. This might be it now as Viasen is surging at this point. That's Adrian Alvarado, the Chilean rider, who's really a sensation, no doubt about it. One of the top riders without any doubt coming out of South America right now. But this is the Belgian doing what he does so well, putting this race into the gutter as Viasen now starting to open up his advantage. The peloton working together, and it looks like it's going to be his teammate trying to get up onto his wheel here, Nathan.
Joe Power backs off the 4 watts per kilogram there for just a moment. Now he kicks up to 8. It is going to be the 2 Coalition Alpha riders on the front. He does allow a gap, though, to Viasen. He's not
Joe's
really
trying not to chase him. Right, it's kind of tricky there. He's trying to hold his position on the front of that group, but he doesn't want to chase his teammate back. And that was that was a tightrope to ride your bike on there.
It's interesting to see the confidence of Viasen to be riding from the front of this group. He's putting out more watts per kilogram than anybody else in the group behind now at this point. Paradis sitting at the wheel. It's going to be DeRoos now. 10 watts per kilogram following very close now. Geraldines now. Davies, who's falling off the back? John Brune. Brune now off the back a little bit. Has to go a solid kick into 14 watts per kilogram. Gets himself back involved into the middle of the group. Viasen side by side with Paradis as well as DeRoos.
Wow, yeah, boy, shows you how even the mighty riders have a bad moment out there, and you have to fight through it. We're still at 3.7K to go. A lot of work still to be done here. It's only a matter of time until Alvarado attacks out of this group. As again, anytime that it lulls, the Chilean just goes. And right now, I just think Mateus DeRoos is going to do something out here, Nathan. I really do. We've made our way into the finals now. Again, every team at 0 points, so you get a fresh slate to work with. And I know Jasper Paradis, he's the rider on the shoulder there of his teammate Mateus DeRoos. They're in the what you'd really call the Belgian national team kit. That's going to be the purple and magenta of the Coalition Alpha team. We've watched, that was actually going to be going to the back of the group, was Lionel Viasen remaining. Boy, a lot of movement in this group right there.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see the little kicks over and over again.
Yep.
Dave, having those kicks of the orange over and over again, you can see that the riders are really interested in their positioning, but not necessarily interested in getting any kind of a break. They don't want to get caught off guards. Halfway through this climb, we do have this little bit of a downhill. It flattens out for a moment, and then it's a steady grind to this last kick over the top. If they get a gap over the top, they may be able to distance themselves with a few riders, but what we're seeing here, Dave, if there isn't much of a distance between any of these riders over the top, this is going to come down to a group sprint.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Nobody wants to play all of their cards. They've all been obviously well coached into staying near the front of this group and not letting a gap open. It's certainly anything but easy. They're all sitting, in that 5 watts per kilo neighborhood, but no one is going absolutely ballistic right now. It's going to be who's the best sprinter of all of these awesome climbers. There's one.
Yeah, and Alvarado says enough is enough. Alvarado goes. I think he knows that this may be a risk for him to come to the line with the likes of John Brune. I mean, Paradians, they've got such a kick. Viasen as well playing it savvy. Kicks up in the 8 watts per kilogram. Trusts that the rest of the group maybe is going to be able to bring this back together. 10 watts per kilogram, though, from Viasen. Viasen really wants to chase. Alvarado's all in. He just used an aero power-up. That's a huge risk because he's only got a 25% chance to get another one of those, and that's going to be the sprinting power-up for sure at the end. So he is putting his chips on the table on this here, Dave. Really, an aero power-up at this point tells me everything this man is thinking.
Risk, reward, it's all about what Zwift brings to the table here. And it's so fantastic to see. Yeah, maybe that backfires on it, but at least he's taking a chance. We've talked about at this point now, that's going to be Jasper Paradis, who's going to cover and kill this one now. So Paradis is going to be the vanguard. He's going to take over the tête de la course of this race as we're down to it. So the Chilean now is going to watch him go by. Nathan, we're under 2K to go at this point. That is the Vanguard. Paradaine's there. He's got his teammate Mateus DeRoos sitting fifth wheel at this point. It is out of control because he's going to get on that wheel. Great job by the fighter, Adrian Alvarado, here to get onto Jasper's wheel as they are high, tailing their way down this climb right now. 1.5K to go. Wow.
5-second gap at this point. Paradaine's kicked over the top here. They kicked at about 10 watts per kilogram or so, 8 watts per kilogram over the top. They really got their speeds as high as they possibly could because they knew that that pack would start snowballing a lot faster. They've got plenty of riders behind here to snowball effect this downhill. So Vyasa now kicks 11 watts per kilogram because he can see that this is a danger up front. They're working together, Adrian and Alvarado, as well as Jasper Paradaine's. Massive move. They had to work together to keep those speeds high. It's still 6 seconds. This pack is still going to roll, though, Dave. They got a lot of speed to roll through here. 6 seconds is not a lot to hold on to. Those two still got to work together to get to the line.
All right, we're going to move into sprint mode now. It's almost impossible to imagine anyone could go up and over the top of the speed that these guys are carrying at this point. This is the selection. It looks like we've got 7 riders here going to try to pick as many points out of this group as they possibly can because this is the Vanguard, the Tête de la Course. Can they hold on? It's starting to look like they can. Jasper Paradaine's is going all in, completely committed. And what a ride. Alvarado been so active, and he goes up and over the top, and he's got another aero power. What a beautiful move. The Chilean has hit out with authority. This goes down as one of the rides of the day if the Wahoo Lecole rider can hold on. Adrian Alvarado goes completely nuclear, Nathan. What a ride.
14 watts per kilogram for Paradaine's, but it's 1 second. The aero power-up is just too strong. Paradaine's almost catching him at the line, but unable to do so. It's Vyasa kicking 14 seconds behind. The gap was massive, and it's John Brune. Next, Esports comes across the line,
Brune
does what he always done. Brune for third. Vyasa, I think, taking fourth or fifth. But the move from Alvarado gets covered by Paradaine's. They work together on the downhill, and they go 1-2 across the line. Who would have thought that would have happened? What a move by those two.
I tell you what, I'm cramping up. That was absolutely bananas. So fun to watch. These are the gladiators of eSport. Adrian Alvarado, you are my hero. 10 points for the champ. It's going to be Jasper Paradaine's for second place, 9 points. John Brune wins the reduced, I guess it was a field sprint when you start with such a small group. The Grand Prix brings so many unique opportunities, and Brune ends up in third. It's going to be Harvard Jelness in fourth, Lionel Vyasa for fifth, Joe Power for sixth, Mateus DeRoos in seventh, and you can see it's Lersveen for 2 points and Davies for 3 points in eighth, and then Davies ending up with a couple points. Let's take a look at with the 5 teams remaining, Nathan. I'll throw it to you to look at the team points.
After the first race, Abus Lecole, after that amazing effort there by the Belgian Paradines with 13 points. Wahoo Lecole, Adrian Alvarado leading them out, grabbing them the part of that 12 points there. It's going to be Coalition Alpha with 11. They're in third. Lionel Vyasa making a solid effort for those alongside of Gel Power. It's going to be Callus Esports presented by Wahoo Burke, 10 points in fourth. Next, Esports presented by Insured, 5th place with 8 points right now. That's your 5 teams. Still pretty close, Dave, but distances can quickly get opened up.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's go back and take a look at that final attack here, Nathan. As this was some really hot action. These guys went into blowtorch mode at this point. This is when you knew that they weren't coming back, but did you expect Alvarado to have this in the tank?
You know, Alvarado, he played it really, really smart. You know, Paradines, he worked really hard knowing to get across to Alvarado. That was the major risk, I think, to go across to him and burned a lot in the tank. And then Alvarado, though, he rolled the dice and twice came up with, I mean, exactly what he needed on the river card there, Dave. All the chips in, 2 aero power-ups, and then sat on Paradine's wheel and jumped him at the perfect moment. Really, he played his cards, and he ended up with aces, really. Amazing job there coming from Alvarado.
Yeah, that's the Chilean there. It's great to see riders coming out of South America as well. That's a new frontier for us. We've talked about Africa, and get great with these riders getting more access to quality internet and all of the tools that you need to be an esports racer. He's certainly been an inspiration, that's for sure. Nathan, we're down to 2. events left out here in our third week. We've got a lot to review at this point because, well, when you look at the tables here, each race has its point structure, and that gets folded into the day's racing. We actually just refreshed things as we moved 5 teams from the 12 into our finals, but this all is part of a big picture season that we're in right now. This is the third round of 6. Again, the women will be out next week in this exact same format. But Nathan, let's take a look at the series points as it stands now.
Round 3 points here. Avis Lacole 12, Avis Lacole 13, Wahoo Lacole 12, Coalition Alpha 11, Callis Esports presented by Wahoo Berg 10, and Next Esport presented by Insured. Those are the 5 teams that have made it through. The rest of the teams on the board there did not make it through to the final, as you can see. Now, we will be heading into the next race shortly. Race number 5 is going to be a 2.7 kilometer race. They are going to be heading their way over toward the volcano circuit, actually. They're not going to be doing the full circuit. They'll be leaving the pens from Watopia that we saw them take off from downtown Watopia for almost every one of our starts actually here in Watopia. They'll be taking a right-hand turn, the same spot that they did that quick sprint that we saw Callis dominate, but then on over toward the Essies. But instead of taking on the Essies, they are going to be taking on the volcano. Right-hand turn over the bridge, and then a left-hand turn immediately into the volcano for a sprint. There's a little bit of undulation, Dave, a little bit of an up and down as you head into that volcano. You actually dive and then right-hand turn into an uphill slight grind. Makes things a little bit different, very tactical for that final sprint. We saw Spencer Segerbrook in the first time around on Fuego Flats make an awesome move actually from the pack, and he's in this race, Dave, for Coalition Alpha. They're in second place right now. I believe they're in second. Are they in second? I believe second or third place right now, and I believe he's going to be a really key factor here for keeping them in the race so far, and maybe be able to win here, because I think he's a big favorite when it comes to the tactical sprint races like this.
Yeah, just as we were complimenting Adrian Alvarado about being a leader in his community, I think it's really cool to see Spencer has really put in the work, both in real life and obviously in esports, to learn the craft. And, I always call these guys the gladiators of esports. But Nathan, the amount of work that goes into having reconnoitered all of these courses and what you're talking, the work that you've done, to be fair, understanding how the Zwift craft will come into play, and course knowledge will be absolutely paramount in the finish here. And you make a good tip there. If Spencer Segerbrook is really valuable on this team, and this is exactly why, this is when the man meets the moment in esports. And it's why we love this so much. You really have that all in competitive juices flowing at the highest level. I mean, you can't tap your adrenal gland any deeper than we do in esports. And Nathan, I'm hearing that they are letting the riders know that we're rapidly coming up here, or just gone inside of 90 seconds. So pretty soon they'll get that 1 minute to racing here, and we'll be going up on the volcano.
2.7 kilometers, Dave. So it is a short enough effort that initial uphill grind out of the pens heading toward the Essies, there may be a move that could go early. And with invisibility power up and burrito power up being more disruption type power ups that you can make a break away from the pack in a way that they don't know that you're going, or they can't take any advantage
Or at
on
least
you
you get that
making a
gap.
move. There may be some risk. Yeah, get that gap and take some risks. And anybody that doesn't want to come to the line with somebody like Spencer Segerbrook, I think there's going to be a lot of motivation for them to be making moves early on here to get away in this 2.7 kilometers. Being so short, over and over again, we've seen teams not want to chase, and it's been upset over and over again, Dave. We've seen it just in the race before.
If you went on Zwift Power, Nathan, and looked and saw that your 5 minute power was substantially better than anyone else in this group, wouldn't that be the play?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Dave. If you know that your 5 minute power up against who you're up against here is stand out against them, or at least up against a lot of what they can handle, and their sprint is better than yours, that's your best dice roll for
Put
sure.
their
All right, Dave.
exactly
Go
put
ahead,
their
Dave.
back up against the wall, Nathan. That's what racing is all about. It's not always your strength, finding their weakness, some combination of that, and we have launched. All right, this is going to be a fun one. Race 2 of 3 in our finals is underway. I loved your call out there for Spencer Segerbrook, but I'm looking at that man right there next in shorts, Thomas Thrall. This Canadian just has immense amounts of talent. There's
Spencer
Spencer
looking to
covering
chase down. Is
everything
that going to
early.
be Timothy
Timothy
Rugg,
Rugg.
of course,
Rugg.
5.4 watts per
Yeah.
kilogram right from the
This guy's
get-go.
bananas.
1 second gap, and they don't want to let him go. This is a guy who can hold the gap. He did it in race number 2 on Fuego Flats. It helped him walk away with it, and it gets covered immediately. Thrall's already 2 seconds off the back, having to close things down. Here comes Spagerbrook, Kuhlman as well. They've got him within sights. I think that they're going to chase this down. I have a feeling this group's going to be very motivated to make sure they do not go anywhere. With only 7 riders, they have to keep him within striking distance. 8.5 watts per kilogram, though, Dave. He's all in.
What's that saying, Nathan? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. We're into the fool me 3 times mode of this one. I don't know who should, but that's going to be Simon Nordhall saying nobody messes around in my house. And this Norwegian has been the biggest talent. I would have to say that his ride and Alvarado's ride are the 2 that have really stood out. But here goes James Barnes, the super talent from down under. James Barnes now going to stir the pot. Very, very active here. We're going to get right down to it very quickly here, as there's not going to be any meat left on the bone by the time these monsters have devoured it. Inside a 2K to go. Thrall to the front. Segerbruch is there. Gianni Kuhlman. Okay, heavy hitters, Nathan. Left, right, and center.
Yeah, Thomas Thrall got a little bit excited there. I think we saw 8 watts per kilogram from him from the
too.
back. I think he was nervous. I think he got a little bit nervous there. Invisibility power up here.
Yeah, that was Rugg, Nathan. We talked about exactly that. I mean, here's the least surprising guy, and he made the ghost work. He's got the gap. That speaks to exactly your point, Nathan. So now Rugg is going to put him in the hurt box here for a little while, or maybe for the next 1.4K. I don't know if this can go to the line, but this is certainly an impact moment of this event.
Yeah, Timothy Rugg getting the gap here now. Invisibility power up coming from him in order to get that gap. 6.7 watts per kilogram now. Barnes. Now, this is the kind of situation, once he gets this gap and they all start looking at each other, this is when people start thinking to themselves, look, no one else wants to work. He's got 3 seconds. If I go now, I'm just going to get chased. We're within 1 kilometer to go. My kick needs to make it to the line still. I chase. I risk everything. Rugg might just do this. Segerbrook now to the front. I think he's gone. He's done it here. Now Segerbrook with the burrito power up. 16 watts per kilogram from Segerbrook. Segerbrook now says, forget it. Don't draft on me, and I go.
Wow. I mean, that is a power surge. And here comes Barnes as well. This is going to be interesting. Down to 700 meters to go. This is Spencer Segerbrook, who is absolutely in fuego right now. This kid out of Missouri is saying, show me the watts, because this is Spencer at his best. This kid has gone another level better out there. And Spencer Segerbrook goes by like a rocket ship on rails here. Now, can he hold on as he's got Thomas Thrall and James Barnes right behind him? Simon Nordall is still there. They're like a wattage blowtorches. There goes Thrall. There goes the Canadian as he Canucks up. Nathan Spencer trying to hold on to this wheel. This one's going to be done and dusted with Thomas Thrall. A power surge. Does he hold on? Segerbrook with one last effort, and it's Thrall for the win. Segerbrook second. Simon Nordall third. Gianni Kuhlman fourth, and Barnes fifth in my provisional results. Whoa, man.
Thomas Thrall, the timing there, Dave. The timing from the pack coming through. Look at him. He gave it all, Dave.
Yeah,
completely buried himself. And Dave, his timing, he waited until the perfect moment. Segerbrook went a little bit early. His teammate Barnes actually was the main chase from the group.
He's having a gummy bear or something. That's incredible that you could actually ingest food after that effort. He's like a killer whale. He can do the chase, get the seal, and eat it. He doesn't need to wait. That's amazing. Thomas Thrall there. These are the team points here today. As Thrall takes 16, the team will take 16 as Thrall combines with James Barnes there on next and short. So that's a big one. Good job, guys. Kalish there. Simon was again, impressive. And Kalish will take 13 to second place. It's Coalition Alpha with 9 points now in third, Avis Lacole fourth, and Wahoo Lacole in fifth. So there you go, Nathan. Another table to look at with Next Insured starting to show why they've been the number one team out here for the last couple of seasons in ZRL. Grand Prix has been wide open.
Spencer Sagerbrook here, we saw him off the front, but it was Thomas Thrall with the punch from the main group. Comes over the top. He had 13 watts per kilogram at the perfect time. It was on that little bit of a downhill before they hit this uphill, so it was speed that was king, and it was the speed of Thomas Thrall that came over the top of Coalition Alpha and Spencer Sagerbrook. Now, he was let out amazingly by his teammate, James Barnes. The setup was there. Barnes was burying himself, I believe, in order just to make sure that Thrall could kick over the top and take down this win for Next, presented by Insured. Look at that, to the line, and the head shake. I've done it. Most likely about to get into that mode where you just put your head down and it's done and dusted there, Dave. Now, Dave, this is interesting because we saw that Wahoo Lacole only has 16 points now after 2 races here in these finals. They might have broken away with Alvarado, but Timothy Rugg with that risk, unable to get a whole lot for them, only 4 points. Now Next, presented by Insured, they go over the top. Callis Esports 23, 1 point separation. Abel Sokol, Coalition Alpha. That's the current standings there, Dave. That's your top 5.
I can see where their head was at, though. They did what they could there to try to steal some points because, I mean, sprinting with the likes of Thomas Thrall and James Barnes is, I mean, that's you're between a rock and a hard place. So I can understand they made the play that they thought they had the best chance of getting some points. And it doesn't always work out there, but we're not done. We've got one final race left out here today. All the marbles are on the line here. Can't wait to watch how this one plays out. But Nathan, I just want to say again, thank you to the teams for their input in helping create this fantastic format of racing. As this one, Squad Skirmish, is going to be very memorable. When you look at the racing formats on paper, you're never really sure exactly how it's going to play out. And again, credit to the racers. They make these events so exciting. But I feel like we've hit an all-time high, to be honest, Nathan, as far as just everything clicking right now out there. It's been a fun day of racing. We've only got one left.
You want to speak to everything clicking. I think that we're really starting to see the ways in which these racers and their experience over the last few years have come together at very specific points out on these Zwift courses. And so I really think we've seen moments of shining in the traditional scratch racing, but we've never been able to see it come to a finish line. We've never been able to see it, look, you're able to make a move at this time and get this advantage at this place on this course. And from this kind of talent that this kind of rider has, we've always seen it maybe come back together from a snowball effect or being chased down over a 30-kilometer race, 50-kilometer race, whatever it might be. But each one of these courses has done an amazing job of highlighting what these teams can actually bring to the table. And not only that, though, what the tactics are for specific parts of these courses in Watopia. You know, I think that the reality of the way that you're going to be able to play out a race on that specific course, on that specific section of road is going to be totally different than another section of road. And we're starting to see how people have played this out over and over again over the years of Zwift racing. And I think it's those racers and those teams that know these courses best and how they've seen Peloton after Peloton go over them. They're the ones that are winning out in the end because of their experience on them.
I think it's great to see how Watopia remains so relevant as well. The original Zwift world, it's just perfect for racing. And yeah, I mean, you know, you've got your Innsbrucks and your Londons, but it just feels good to be back on Watopia, getting back to our roots with this kind of racing. And there's obviously things that our team has been able to do with the events that you could never replicate in real life, and trying to really play to the strengths of what Zwift is all about and our community is all about. And those things dovetailing together have come to make the Zwift Grand Prix phenomenal. And we're only, for the guys, just coming up on halfway through the season. We do take a little bit of a break. We've got, there's a lot of qualifying going on as folks looking forward to representing their country at the World Championships. That's going to be taking place in March. So, Nathan, the next 3 or 4 months are going to be really the heyday of Zwift racing. And it's so fun to be along for the broadcast of this. It's just absolutely awesome. So we've got one race left. If you just saw that last table that Nathan presented, it's all in play. To tell you the truth, I think maybe there's really three teams that would say that they've got a legitimate shot. This could go a lot of different directions, as we learned from the first 8 races that qualified our 5 finalist squads here. Things change quick, fast, and in a hurry out here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how this is going to play out on this next course, because we're doing the squad skirmish is going to finally be on race number 6. Now we're looking at Leonard Tugels here, the focus there. Great man to be having on this course. It's a 5.1 kilometer race. Tapo Lorio, another big hitter when it comes to going uphill and being tactical. The reality of taking on the reverse KOM of Titans Grove, Ollie Jones, another one. Man, wow. Okay, we just saw Leonard Tugels, Tapo Lorio, and Ollie Jones, Dave. When you're taking on the reverse, Zach Neer, every big name it looks like is being thrown into this final race for good reason. It's 10-5 riders now, Dave, and this is going to be everything. Perot is here as well for BZR, Dave. I have a feeling that it's going to be fireworks from the get-go, because here's the thing, Dave. This isn't a lot of rolling when you're heading toward the actual KOM itself, right? You're going to take that right-hand turn out of the pens. Here they go. And then it's going to be a left-hand turn into the lower springs of Titans Grove. And right from there, you've got little punches all the way until you hit the final KOM section. I have a feeling we're going to see moves right from the get-go. And sure enough, there it is. Tepaloyo to the front at 6.2. Dave, one more thing here. Wahoo Lacole only had one rider with Rug in that last one. So they didn't bet a whole lot on that second one. They put a lot of chips on the table here for this last one.
That's a great call, Nathan. Again, they've invested in this final race. They're hoping to make it up at the end, which is a very viable tactic. I want to thank everybody for joining us. It's been an absolutely wonderful day of racing out here in the Grand Prix. Can't wait to get the women, and I know you'll be joining us for the women's racing next week. Same time, same place, but there we go. First attack of Zach Nair, and Zach Nair has hit out like a boss. That's going to be covered,
Ollie Jones.
Ollie Jones, I apologize. It's Ollie Jones, Leonard Tugels, Zach Nair, and then Michael Modding here. Back to you, Nathan.
Yeah, Ollie Jones, and we've seen him do this before. He loves this climb, actually. We've seen him do it in what was the Premier Division. He's gotten away and stayed away on this specific climb from this pack, from a pack that's held these exact riders, actually, some of them, in the past. So he trusts himself. He knows that he has the steady power, the kind of rider that he is at 536 watts right now, 7.5 watts per kilogram. He's a classic ruler, and this is classic ruler terrain that can just roll through with speed. That's why he's trusting himself. He's got 1 second still. He's making them commit to the chase, Dave, because he's not stopping.
Yeah, it looks like Modding is now in no man's land, bridging here as Coleman is leading. Well, now Coleman is making his effort. It's every man for himself right now out here, Nathan, as we're inside of 3.7K to go. Again, the agitator there is going to be Ollie Jones, but that catch is being made there. That's Coleman there in the black jersey for the Kalish team. It looks like we're going to hit a general reset now at 3.5 kilometers of racing remaining here.
Is there going to be any kind of a counterattack? It's going to be a question. Lexi Kalman now just sits in for Callis here. We've only got one Callis rider. Kaminsky was 0. Kaminsky now. Is that a dropout from Kaminsky, or was he just resting up? 7.7 watts per kilogram for Kaminsky. Actually, was resting up there. He was trusting himself in the pack. Wow. To be able to go to 0 watts per kilogram like that, Dave, and sit in the pack.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that shows an amazing esports rider.
That's the Polish rider, Kaminsky, that Nathan is talking about on the Coalition Alpha team. There you go, Michael Kaminsky here. Another one of the guys who's definitely got his Zwiftcraft dialed as he gets up and out of the saddle, just flogging himself like a rented mule right now. So Coalition Alpha is trying to, take advantage that they got 2 riders in the mix here as well. This is going to be Duffy Jr. that we're looking at, one of the 2 next and short riders, but Ollie Jones goes again.
Ollie Jones sets up Modding, though. Modding counters the attack as Jones fades to the back, and Modding goes with Duffy Jr. on his wheel. It looks like Duffy trying to hang on. They do have a little bit of a gap. It's up outside of the 5 meters, but Modding's got even more than that. It looks like he's going to go with Duffy. Kaminsky sitting, 1.3 watts per kilogram from Kaminsky. Kaminsky kicking again at 6.1 watts per kilogram, just allowing that roll through to keep the speed up. It's very difficult if you're not with a pack to keep the speeds super high here, but it looks like we're going to get a little bit of commitment from these 2 riders as they start to sit up a little bit behind. Tugels doesn't want to let this go too far as he heads to the front at 6.0, maybe trusting that they're going to bring this back with the roll through. Perot goes to 9 watts per kilogram. He wants to shut this down now. He's not letting it risk it.
Brian Duffy Jr. known for a wicked sprint. Certainly not a guy that you want to go to the line with, but it's worth it in this case with the way that the points are structured here. Again, modding, and now that's going to be Perot making the catch. So the Avis LaCole rider going over the top, but look who he's got with him. That is going to be Ollie Jones this time. So bit of a reshuffling there for Coalition Alpha, Nathan, but they're continuing to keep their heads above water here as we come up very, very quickly on the penultimate kilometer of racing. This is going to be Kaminsky. Again, he's shown us he's got it all put together now. And this is going to be Kaminsky surging. Look at the watts that he's making, well over 600 watts for such a light rider right now. This is a human wattage cottage on the front here. Yikes.
Yeah, and that's a great move from Kaminsky, actually. The timing of his move there after the catch with the roll through onto the downhill had massive speed. And as you saw how difficult it was just to get 1 second earlier, he got 2 seconds with hardly any effort comparative to what we saw earlier. So the timing there, also the reality of how many times they had gone, eventually as you get into that third and fourth cover, the counter will stick because everyone says enough is enough. I can't go again. Kaminsky rested up enough. He was sitting in the pack enough. He didn't go with any of those moves until now. And 5 seconds, Dave, this might do it.
Yeah, it looks like he may be gone. The chicken has flown the coop at 1.5K. Again, you see dramatic changes in the finale. That, again, though, is the Polish rider Michael Kaminsky of Coalition Alpha off the front. His teammate Ollie Jones now is setting almost a false tempo here as Coleman's going to have to get up and around that. So the Norwegian here, and then you can see another Belgian rider, Perot, now is going to take over on the front. But the real story here is Coalition Alpha has hit out with Kaminsky. That's going to be Joe Perot that we've gone in cam with. This is the peloton, but they're now 11 seconds and some change behind Michael here. So the Polish rider is going, gone. That's going to be Michael. We're looking at it 1K to go. Nathan, I don't see him coming back.
No, this is about a little over a 1 minute climb, and I think he's got this. As long as he's got a solid 7 to 8 watts per kilogram to the top at this point, he most likely will keep this. And, you know, the thing is if any of these teams wanted to chase this back, it would have had to be the teams that had 2 riders and sacrificed one of the riders to pull this back together here. Ollie Jones is on the front. That's his teammate. He's sitting at 4 watts per kilogram. He says, forget it. I'm not doing the work. Kaminsky's gone. They're racing for second at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And now Ollie Jones can use his head and just kind of, there you go. See how he's sitting back in the group. Now, if they can go 1-2 here, that's an insane number of points, Nathan. This could be a real raid being made here by the Coalition Alpha team. It's going to come down to if Ollie Jones can put a good result up out of this group, you might see Coalition Alpha with a stunner. Well, I don't know if I'd call it a stunner. They've always been one of the top teams, but it certainly would be a stamp of authority, and it looks like the attack is going. Perot has been irrepressible out here today. Brian Duffy Jr. looking to cover. There's no chance that Kaminsky's coming back. He's in a different postal code at this point. This is a fight for second that we're looking at now.
Perot's the lead-out man, really, for Tugels. He's just going to the front to make sure that Tugels gets the right setup. Setup now for Tugels, though, over the top. Jumps on Brian Duffy Jr. because it's between Duffy Jr. and Tugels to the line, I think, with a couple on the chase. But Kaminsky's going to take this down 20 seconds up the road. Tugels over the top. He's being set on by Duffy Jr. and Zach Neer. Will it be enough, though, to hang on all the way to the line? Because Duffy Jr. with the kick. Ollie Jones as well. Tugels ends up being the lead-out man because it levels out. This is always a tough one to time. Right to the line. Tempo. Is it going to be to the line? It's going to be right there with Wahoo LaCole. Modding takes it down. Jones for second.
Look what Jones
Tugels
did.
for third. He leads him out.
Yeah, and Jones was up there. So I have a feeling Coalition Alpha is going to make a huge jump on our final table. Oh, man, what a day of racing this was. So Kaminsky takes it, modding for second, but Jones, that's huge to get up there and third, really having his teammates back. Because if Kaminsky gets that win, but Jones is down in 7th or 8th, it really, really counterbalances it. In this case, it reinforces a tremendous job by Coalition Alpha. It's going to be Leonard Tugels in for 4th. Zach Nair and his teammate Brian Duffy Jr. ending up in 5th and 6th. They're scoring now. Alex Kalman in for 7th. Joe Perot in 8th, and then Tempo Lorio will round out our top 9 here in the 11th and final event of round 3 for the men. Again, women get their crack at it next week. This is going to be the points that we're looking at with Coalition Alpha at 18. This points from this event that we just witnessed. Wahoo LaCole with 11. They tied with Next Esport there. 10 for Avis LaCole, and then Kalish with 4 points in 5th. Coalition Alpha with that 18 will fold that into our final and find out who's going to win the round and take the 25 points that go with that, Nathan. So we have all the different layers of the cake here. And we're about ready to find out who's got the frosting here halfway through the season. Zwift Grand Prix in full effect, Nathan. What a memorable day of racing today.
18 points at the top. Coalition Alpha, they played everybody there. No, sorry, but Ollie Jones went to the front. He kept attacking. Everybody chased. Then Modding made a little bit of a move as well there, which kind of played into Coalition Alpha's game. But the whole thing there was to send Kaminsky. And then eventually, after enough attacks, people started sitting up a little bit more. The timing was perfect from about halfway through that climb. Bam, Kaminsky goes, he gets the gap. Jones can just sit in and wait at that point. Jones knows that climb so well. He timed it perfectly to sit on wheels all the way until they hit that final kick. He makes the final kick, maybe doesn't take the group sprint, but gets enough points to keep them in that top spot. They go, what was it, first and fourth or something along those lines? What an amazing team moves there. Yeah, what an amazing team move there from Coalition Alpha. I really love the tactics they played out here today.
Yeah, let's take a look at that replay, actually. We can confirm that it was third for Ollie Jones as his teammate. This is the attack as Kaminsky goes authoritatively there. Getting a look at his win now. This was the moment for him today, the Polish rider. We talked about his Zwiftcraft early on. Now we're going to go back and take a look at the run-in for second place. And this is where Ollie Jones did his team such a solid now. He's not going to win this sprint, but third on the day here, but second in this group sprint certainly looks like it's going to have a huge impact in the final result today. So, Nathan, that was fun.
It really shows.
I don't know how much fun it was.
Yeah.
Last few seconds there. But wow.
It really shows the need for a teammate on this course. So this course specifically, the reality of what happened there with Tugels. Tugels didn't really have so much of a lead out and didn't time it quite as well as he could have. And this is a man that I usually would say, look, in a sprint like that, an uphill sprint like that, he would be the favorite. But with Perot leading him out and then fading backwards and then Tugels having to kick to go across, I just really think that the team dynamic played out so incredibly well in front of us there to show us how a team could play their cards correctly to get the most points as they possibly could. Modding, timing was absolutely perfect. He went exactly when you need to. If you don't know that reverse KOM there, it's all about that last 200 meters over the top. It can be really deceptive about when you need to go too, because you can't really see around the corner and when that last little line is actually coming at you. So I think Modding, he'd done his homework. He got a lot of points there for Wahoo Lucole as well.
Yeah, boy, the teams really, the director sportifs had to come into play here, make some tough choices on what was your best option to collect points out there, waiting and stacking those two riders for the Coalition Alpha team in the final. That looked like a brilliant move. And the guys had to back it up, but they certainly did.
Yeah, now, as far as skirmish goes, Dave, if we think a little bit about everything that we just saw and how everybody had to be placed and used in each and every one of the races that would benefit the teams as best as they possibly could, we have learned so much actually about Zwift racing. It looks like we can take a look at the round 3 points and how things played out total on the day and who was the most tactical when it comes to these final top 5 out here today. Dave, why don't you go ahead and take it away for us?
We started with 12 teams through the first 8 events that had us qualify 5 teams, as you can see, into our final events. And there you go. Coalition Alpha played their cards perfectly to come up and over the top at the right time and take the win here today with 38 points of the 5 teams that made it into the final. Second place today going to Next Esport, presented by Insured, as they'll end up 3 points back. And third is Avis Lacole. Fourth place going to Wahoo Lacole. They actually tied there, but on the count back, Wahoo Lacole ending up in fourth and Kalish Esport in fifth. So 6th place, those points, the season-long points, will go to Movistar, Toyota Cryo here for 7th, Velocio 8th, Team Castelli in 9th, and this was based on the points that they had through the first 8 races here. Hexagon in 10th, Aero 11th, and Team Swedish Swifters rounding out our top 12 here today after round 3. We're halfway home, and the women get their turn next Friday.
We're going to take a look at the series points and how things played out for the series overall after this round. And next esport presented by Insured are at 55 points, 3 points ahead of Wahoo Lacole now. Abelus Lacole there in third place with 51. Very tight race there, 51 to 52. And then even another one just 1 point behind with Coalition Alpha. The cream of the crop is rising to the top with our top 4 teams. Toyota Cryo DT and Movistar E team in 5th and 6th at 26th and 24th 24 respectively. It's going to be Team Castelli presented by Elite, 16 points in 7th. It's going to be Callus Esport presented by Wahoo Burke, 15 points in 8th place. Velocio have 8 points in 9th. Hexagon presented by Sars with 3 in 10th. And Team Swedish Zwifters, 3 points in 11th. Aero with 0 points in 12th right now. Very close at the top, Dave, for those top 4 teams. And Toyota Cardi team and Movistar E team, they are getting back on the board as well, I feel like. Today, Dave, I think that we saw some of the best esports racing we've ever seen in Zwift racing history.
I would even say through the last 3 weeks for the men, and the women are obviously having their chance coming up. It's been absolutely what you just said. Incredibly fun to watch. And I'd imagine they're loving racing in this format. Steel sharpens steel. And that's exactly what we're seeing when the best race against the best in a unique format. We really all walk away as winners. So again, congratulations to everybody participating, and thank you for joining us. It's been a lot of fun, and we've got a long way to go here in the Zwift Grand Prix. Hard to believe, Nathan, after everything we've seen, this is only the midway point for the guys.
Yeah, we said we might see some new strategies playing out in front of us. I think we saw exactly that in some of the most exciting esports racing. Now, if you want to get out and do some racing yourself, you can do the Race Like a Champ Z Racing Series. Stage number 4 and 5 are still coming up for the rest of October. So make sure to head on over to Zwift.com/racing to check that out. Also, you can sign up for round 2 of the Zwift Racing League presented by WTRL. Head on over to WTRL.racing to check that out. We actually did a full look at the whole race schedule yesterday on the wrap over on Zwift Community Live's YouTube. And you'll be looking at Squad Skirmish round number 2 for the women next week, Friday, exactly right here where you're watching us right now. So make sure not to miss that. So again, Zwift Racing, Zwift.com/racing if you want to get involved. Thanks for joining us for round 2 for the men's Zwift Grand Prix. From Dave and I, as always, thanks a lot for tuning in and ride on.